Hi there, welcome to Let's Talk Tottenham. We normally would have a North London derby to talk about, but obviously that didn't happen. I'm sure everyone knows the reasons why. So we've got a kind of halfway season, halfway through, teams on 17 games, 18 games, 19 games, all the way to 22. So it's not really halfway, but it's round about that. We've got West Ham, Leicester, Spurs, obviously, United coming, and maybe Arsenal as well. So we'll go through all of those teams and a bit about the league as well. First, let me introduce the guests. Brilliant guest, as always, on here. Mike, how you doing, Mike?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. How's things for you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Spurs stressing me out, but then, that's been the case for about 30 years. We've got Chris, who's been on here before, from Leicester Till I Die YouTube stream. How you doing, Chris?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, thanks. And give a little shout out to your channel.
Yeah, it's my Twitter is, as you can see there, at Leicester TID, and the channel on YouTube is Leicester Till I Die TV. And looking forward to giving you a spanking on Wednesday.
And Chris has to go now. Unfortunately, very good to have you on. Yeah, well, we'll obviously talk about that. I think I read that you've got quite a lot of injuries and the things that's been going on. It's obviously very topical, so we'll definitely talk about that. Mark is back as well from Raw Emotion podcast. How you doing, Mark?
I'm good, mate. Always a pleasure to come back on with you, Chris.
Always a pleasure having all three of you on and the others who are coming on as well. Do you want to give a shout out to your podcast? I know you haven't done as much recently, but
not particularly, mate. If they want to follow, they can go follow that Emotion Pod. It's run by Gareth.
Well,
yeah. We never play anymore, mate. We never play. And do you know what it is? It's because we do it during the games, and if one of us is at the games, it's very difficult to do. So yeah, it's we haven't been doing a lot really.
No, I actually met Gareth for the first time before we lost to Chelsea again. Wow. In the Beehive. So that was nice. That was quite good. Very surprising as well. With Brian and a few others as well. That was the best part of the 2 games at Chelsea I've been to this season. Just meeting people from YouTube. That was the only good thing that ever happened in those 2 games.
I'm not surprised, mate.
But yeah, so basically we're doing a Premier League preview. So I've got a little table here. So Ben, who will be joining a bit later, on the left is his predictions before the start of the season on where teams will finish. And on the right is the table as it stands at this moment in time. As you can see, there's all manner of different games. Burnley with 17 games, Man City at the top with 22. So some teams got plenty of games in hand. But it's kind of taken a little bit of shape. We'll get into the surprises a little bit later on. Obviously talked to Ben about that because it was his table. He was the only one who could wanted to do that. Quick shout out to Wayne on the stream chats. How you doing, Wayne? Always promoting, supporting all Spurs streams. Big up, Wayne. Thanks to everyone who's watching and will be watching on the replay. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, then go into the description, find Chris's and do that. And here's the man, Ben. How are you doing, Ben?
Good, man. Sorry.
That's all right. We've just gone through your table and seen how wrong it is. Only joking.
Yeah.
So, Chris, I know you've got to head off in a bit for your own stream. So we'll talk about Leicester first. So fairly inconsistent this season. 10th at the moment, 5th in the last 2 seasons. But as I say, you have got quite a few games in hand. And as we know with football, if you win your games in hand, that your position can take a very dramatic different shape. So I'll bring the table up again. So you can see there you're 10th, but you've got 4 games in hand on some teams. So,
I'd take Ben's prediction now.
But yeah, win all of your games in hand if they are played tomorrow, and you're level on points with West Ham, who are in 4th. So there's a lot of football to be played. But how do you judge your season so far? Obviously, it's only kind of halfway. Yeah, it's halfway through just under halfway through for Leicester.
We've been, I can't think what the saying is now, but our own success has been like, the albatross round our neck. We've had 2 seasons where we finished 5th. We've won the FA Cup. We've won the what I like to call the English Super Cup. Everybody else calls it the Community Shield. And we kind of expected that to go on this season. And you guys will know, every now and again you get a season comes along and it kicks you in the teeth. And I don't like to blame injuries because I always used to go mad at the big clubs when they sort of blamed injuries, but it has been bad. We haven't had the same back four for 2 games running in any competition this season. And so when you do bring players in, they don't know where they're supposed to be and what have you. And it's been the weirdest of seasons. Who'd have thought, that West Ham would be where they are, or Arsenal would have played 3 games at the start and not got a point. It has been such a weird season, but we have been consistently inconsistent. I think that's the best way of describing it.
What do you put that down to? Like injuries that you say, or other factors with the COVID situation, or just? I mean, you had a couple of really good seasons, and you're due a kind of bad season if you want. It might not even be a bad season, only halfway through.
No, we're not through yet. No, we're still in Europe, although we're now in the Conference League that you guys didn't want to be in. I don't know. It's just. I think we are. Like I say, I think we've just had 2 good seasons when you could say we were punching above our weight, if you like. And I think the last 2 seasons, once you get outside sort of, the big 4, Man United, Chelsea, Liverpool and Man City, there was really only us going for that last position. But now, West Ham are there. You guys have come back this season. You got a decent manager at last. Arsenal have come back this season. So there's more people going for that sort of 4th, 5th, 6th position than there has been for the last 2 seasons. But, I mean, the thing with Leicester is if we finish, say, 7th, 8th, 9th, we're Leicester. It won't be such it'll be disappointing, but it's not the end of the world for us. We're not like Man United. If we finish out the top 4, we're going to go and sit in the corner and cry and sack a manager or something. Kind of.
That's why Ben's late today.
I didn't realise you were a Man United fan, Ben. Sorry. But it won't be the end of the world for us. That is what I'm saying. We've got for last pre-season game, Villarreal decided to break the leg of Wesley Fofana, who was our best defender. We've had injuries. You've got Johnny Evans, who he is our most experienced defender, but he's old now, so he takes that bit longer to get over injuries. Vardy's out now for 8 weeks. 3 or 4 years ago, that would have taken him 2 or 3 weeks to recover. Now it's taking him 8 weeks. We've had the problem. This is like everybody else. We've had COVID problems as well.
Yeah, and obviously it's January at the moment, halfway through, give or take a day or 2. Do you expect any transfer business? Do you need any transfer business? Obviously, you've got a lot of injuries, so that would obviously help. But realistically, what do you see happening in January for Leicester, if anything?
We've got no money for a start. We had a bit of money sort of left over, but with Fofana out, we had to go and buy somebody. Unfortunately, that somebody was Vestergaard, so we're no better off, really. But that was 15 million that we hadn't planned for. But we acted quickly within a week of Fofana being injured and out for the sort of most of the season. We'd got another replacement in, so that was good. But it was 15 million we hadn't expected to buy. We need another centre back. That is the one position we are really, really desperate for. But if we go out and buy somebody, suddenly when everybody's fit, we've got a team full of defenders. So we don't need to buy somebody. So we will, they're saying we'll probably get somebody on loan. We've been linked with Ericsson. Apart from that, that's the only transfer ins that I will see happening, because like I say, literally we haven't got the funds. The big question is obviously whether we'll hold on to Tielemans or not, and if he doesn't go in January, he'll almost certainly go in the summer.
Yeah, he's
Chris,
a good player.
can I just ask where has that come from? Because I see what Brendan Rodgers said. I think it was yesterday, talking about him and he wouldn't stand in his way. Where's that link come from? Is he linked with someone, Chris?
He's been linked with everybody. The latest one is Arsenal. But I mean, they're being linked and saying that, he's available for 40 to 50 million. Well, I'm sorry. We paid 40 million for him, so we're not going to sell him for 40 million, Yeah, Harry Maguire, 2 words there. Best bit of business we ever did. Although Danny Drinkwater to Chelsea for 35 wasn't too far behind it. We've been talking for 12 months with him now, and he hasn't committed. So I think, unless a miracle happens, we're pretty sure he's not going to. If he was going to commit, he would have done by now. He might be waiting to see if we finish in Europe. That's the reason he wants to go. I mean, let's be honest with you. He's a Belgian international. They're the number 1 country in the world at the moment, according to FIFA. He's a damn good player. Of course, he wants to play at the highest level. And I get that. So, had we sort of been challenging this season and moved on and been going for 4th, who knows? He may have signed in. Because contract extensions are not worth the paper they're written on.
No.
All you can do is put a release clause in. Apart from that, they don't mean that anybody's going to stay any longer. It's just you're in a better position as a selling club. So I think he'll go, but he will go with our good wishes. I mean, he scored a penalty against Watford at the weekend in the FA Cup the other weekend, and he was the passion he's got for the club. So you can see that the reason he wants to leave really purely is to play in the Champions League, and I get that. He
ain't going to Arsenal, then, is he?
Well, this is why I don't think he'll go in January. Because you don't know who's going to finish.
See what happens.
Yeah. Are you going to finish 4th? Man United, Arsenal, us, West Ham, and then we don't know who's going to come in for him. I mean, you've got Barcelona, you've got Madrid, a couple of other clubs abroad. Man City.
Is he out of contract, or does he just want to leave?
He's got 18 months left.
Right. Okay.
We obviously want to tie him down because of what a good player he is, and obviously getting that goal at Wembley, we'll love him forever. But come the summer, he'll have 12 months left on his contract. So if we don't sell him then we're probably going to end up possibly losing out. So it's okay. We've got some good young players coming through. Kieran Dewsbury Hall. In a couple of years, it'll be excellent. But we're a selling club in as much as we seem to lose one big player every season, every couple of seasons. But it's not the fact that we need to sell like we used to years ago. The fact is we're selling and making a huge profit on these players.
And you recruit very well, don't you? To be fair, you recruit players really well. When you sell the players, you recruit very well.
We do, and we've had a couple of bummers. Every club has, haven't we? We could all name them. But when we get it right, we get it right. I mean, no, and I don't want to rub it in, but Harry Maguire, 29 million or something he was, or 25 million, 80 million we sold him. Danny Drinkwater, less than $1 million, got 35 million off Chelsea.
Mahrez as well.
Mahrez, exactly. Mahrez is 60 million for a player we played £425,000 for. And that's now while we've got a huge, big training ground. Thank you very much, Laziers. A huge, big training ground for that we've moved into, top of state of the art. So, when we get it right, we get it right. But the problem I think you've got is that clubs like the Arsenals, the Spurs, the Chelseas, whatever, you don't want to take the risk on the youngsters. Any of those clubs, you could have gone out and bought Fofana. He was 20 million, 19 years old. Nobody wanted to take the chance on him. We took the chance on him. He had to go straight in last season because of the injuries last season. We're going to be selling him for 60, 70 million probably in a couple of years. And somebody out there will be daft enough to pay it. So we made a nice £51 million profit. So, but, the players are there. And, I always get fans going, oh, we were looking at him and what have you, but nobody wants to take the risk. You want ready-made players.
Yeah. We
It's
kind of
nice
did
that the
without him.
Glazers. It's nice that the Glazers are doing up your training ground. Oh, I'm pleased about that.
Yes, yeah, thank you, mate. Cheers.
I mean,
Do give them my best, won't you?
I think they're going to have like a baseball thing where it's like bring a paintbrush.
It is paid through stolen money, though. Obviously, stolen from Manchester United's bank account. But
you can't. You don't care if you've got the receipt. You can't bring him back.
Bring it back. Oh, we need everyone we can get. Just going back to it though, if you want reliability for an on loan, Phil Jones is available. He hasn't missed a few games in a while, so he's around.
Do you know what I mean? When he played the other night, he was better than half the other players.
Yeah, he's got one game in him.
Yeah. We'll come on to United in a bit, but Ben, obviously, however many months ago the season started, you came up with this table on the left. The table on the right is what the table is looking like at the moment. So, any surprises for you? I'll make it easy for the start. Everton, I think, are probably most people's surprise. It could have gone good, could have gone bad for Benitez, but I don't think anyone expected them to be about relegation battle at this moment in time. But other surprises for you?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I put Newcastle high. I think I said when we did the thing last time that was ambitious.
Well, with their transfer business, and if they do more, that could come to fruition. And
I don't know. They've got a long way to go to get 13th. I mean, I would say that Palace have surprised me a little bit. I think we did say, didn't we, when we did it, that Palace were a bit the most unknown, what you'd get out of it.
With them, I think, is they obviously tried it a little while ago with De Boer, completely changing their style of playing. It spectacularly failed. They went back to reliable with Hodgson, and they've tried it again, and this time it seems to be working with Vieira. They've got a brilliant player in Conor Gallagher. But yeah, so
if they can keep him now, Chelsea are going to want him back, aren't they? I think so.
Chelsea will probably sell him for about 30-40 million quid. That's what Chelsea do, aren't they? They are a player farm, so they'll get a player, send him out on loan for a couple of seasons. If they do well, then it's right. We'll take the cash now. No problem. It's like Ambrosia, for instance. We're never going to get a chance at Chelsea. Sent him on loan. It's done well at Southampton. Immediately, we want 20 million quid for him. Probably going to get that good price, but it's easy money for them. They've got players after player. They've got probably about 60 players on their books. They probably sell for about 10 every season, and that's before they even sell anyone in their first team. So, it's a farm, and players are a number and a figure. You give them a figure, they'll sell them. Ruben Loftus-Cheek has been good for them this season. Would they sell him in the summer? Damn right they would if someone came with an offer. So say like Leicester, for instance, sold Tielemans and went for Ruben Loftus-Cheek, he'll be sold. There's no qualms about it. It's just a player to them.
Did I read somewhere they've got more players out on loan than some of the smaller clubs in the Premier League? I think
it's something like 30, or they at least had about 30 to 40, I think, before in previous seasons.
Yeah.
How you doing, Steve?
Not too bad. Sorry, I'm a bit late.
That's okay.
Stream.
But, thanks so much for coming on.
Steve.
What's that?
Yeah.
Long time no see.
Yeah, you're always following me. What are you doing?
Hey, I was there first.
Right, I might think you're some stalkers that we know about today.
Well, we don't need to talk about him. But yeah, in terms of this stream, Stephen, we should have been talking about North London derby. Obviously, Arsenal requested to be cancelled, and a lot of Spurs fans having a go at Arsenal. But
I've too right, mate.
Well, I slightly disagree. It's the Premier League's fault. If there's a loophole there to be taken and it's going to benefit you, you're perfectly within your rights to take it. And as soon as we cancelled a game because of COVID, which I assume that was genuine because you have to presumably show evidence that your players have got COVID, the Premier League should have then said, right, okay, cancellations for COVID are X number of players, and now you've got teams who are cancelling because of one player.
Yeah, what we've shown is that you can have one case of COVID and you can get it called off.
Yeah, that's the Premier League's fault, not your fault, I don't think. Yeah, not Arsenal's fault. It's a little bit pathetic.
It is our fault in a sense because, it is our fault in a sense because we've put ourselves in that situation, right?
Yeah.
We had two genuine cases off of COVID. Now, I'm not saying that we've gone and give two players COVID. What I'm sitting here saying is that Arteta at the beginning of this January or beginning of winter, we all knew COVID was going to come about and there was going to be cases, right? Arteta's decided, as well as he's got Kunduzi on loan, Reece Nelson and Torreira on loan, he decided with the last spare midfielder left before the Forest game was Ainsley Maitland-Niles, right? Now, Lokonga and Ainsley Maitland-Niles actually played well together the last time they played. They only played once, but then we never saw it again. But as he decided, because we've got Xhaka and the Conga there, even though Partey and El Neni are off to the AFCON and Pepe, we all know these players were going to the AFCON as well. He decided we'll manage with just Lokonga and Xhaka and sell Ainsley Maitland-Niles on loan. All the Arsenal fans have gone up and saying, oh, well, you can't keep the player. He wanted to go. No, a big club would have told him, you're not going until we get an adequate replacement in this month. Because at the moment, we can't spare the midfielders. But no, he decided to sell him on loan. Right? Get lost.
It was left over from Stephen's show earlier.
But no, so in the end, this is all down to Arteta and his squad management. Also, half our players are fatigued because he's overused them. Saka's not had a rest since the first lockdown back in 2020, right? And you wonder why he's fatigued and he's injured. And he's not been playing as well as before. So I'm sorry, this is all on Arteta and his squad management, and also they're doing their transfer business. Right? It's not nothing to do with it, and I feel all Tottenham fans have every right to be angry because you're in the same situation as us, and you did protest. You didn't.
No, I don't want to defend Arsenal, but I do agree with what Chris is saying to the fact that if we was in that position as Tottenham fans, we would want our club appealing it as well. I understand what you're saying, that you've put yourself in that situation, but it was the Premier League that should have looked at that and gone, actually, no, you've got one COVID case, everything else is self-inflicted. This game has to go ahead.
I see that with unlike Liverpool, where at the time we didn't know there were false positive, but at the time it was confirmed 19 cases or something. That's a genuine outbreak. What they should have put in the rules is saying, unless it's a genuine outbreak of COVID of over 7 or 8 cases, something like that, right? Or over the limit of what a starting 11 would be, right? Which is 6. Then
there's loopholes in the rules. That's the point, isn't it?
You don't have the right to ask for it called off.
As soon as we had it,
season, we'd be told to do it.
Yeah, as soon as we had it, it was when Omicron was in the news as going everywhere. Yeah. So anyone with half a brain knows that it's going to happen again and again and again. And anyone with half a brain knows.
And Arteta got it a second time, and he's still sold.
But I still maintain it's the Premier League's fault, but it doesn't help your cause when you've got idiots like Piers Morgan going out and saying, I don't know why Tottenham fans are moaning there. It's going to be the game then. I don't understand.
The other thing is, you look at it and go, look at Leeds this weekend. Leeds had 4 men on the bench and played.
Yeah, this is the thing. That's why
I'm going to have to go, guys.
All right, no problem, Chris. Thanks so much for coming on. Give a shout out to your channel. Just before you go, shout out to your channel for people to...
Get rid of that Arteta in.
It's Leicester Till I Die TV, and you're welcome to come on the post-match show Wednesday night when we'll be talking about 3 points to Leicester.
Okay, well, they're obviously playing someone else, not Tottenham.
We never beat you.
Famous last words, His famous last words. We'll end up losing them.
All the best, guys. Stay safe, everybody.
See you later. You too. Thanks very much, Chris.
Cheers, mate. Bye-bye.
I know you have to go in.
I was just going to say about Piers Morgan is that he also said last season that when we went through against Benfica, that was one of the greatest European nights for Arsenal. And I'm like, are you for real? Brain dead.
He just says things for reactions, doesn't he? And then you see any of his tweets, he gets like hundreds and thousands of reactions because that's what he wants to do. But in terms of Arsenal, I mean, I know you're not a fan of your manager at all, but you are in the race for top 4. Let me bring up the table. Where are you at the moment? You're 5th. Obviously, there's games in hand for other teams and what have you. But at this moment in time, you're sitting in 5th, only 2 points off of 4th. Do you think you can mount a serious challenge for top 4 this season, come the end of this season, or do you think it's a little bit too far?
If Arteta can postpone all the games until he gets his players back.
I think that's Burnley's method of not going down as well. They're not going to play any games for the rest of the season.
That's what they've requested now as well. They've requested to have this game postponed. I'm like, here you go. Arsenal set the precedent. Now everyone's going to do it.
Yeah, that's the problem.
The worst part is it's going to be then the fixture congestion, and then there's going to be the bleeding hearts of, well, now we've got a really tight schedule. You know, it's unfair. How can we be made to do this? We've got to care about players. It's like, should have played the games. Arsenal have one of the best youth systems in the country, and still had a solid enough 11 to put out with that young kids. Yeah, you might lose points, but that's mainly what it is. It's that concern they're going to lose points.
He was happy to do it against Forest.
Yeah,
but he's not happy to do it against Tottenham.
Because he didn't count
points. He knew A, he would have got 3 points. B, he would have been slaughtered.
Well, not getting 3 points, I think people are really underestimating how bad Spurs are at the moment in time.
But the truth is, though, Chris, it's not about player welfare. It's about...
Oh, no, it's about money.
It's money.
Have I got the maximum chance of getting 3 points? No. Right. Do we have a COVID case? Yes. Right. Put in a request.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can get it postponed. It's not about player welfare, and the fact that they're presenting it as player welfare is a farce. It's not about that.
And that's where it's the Premier League's fault, though, Mike, because they should look at that and say, well, this is clearly you're trying to bend the rules. You've got one COVID case. No, everything else, as you said, it's on them. The new African Cup of Nations was on. They loaned out players. They've got injuries. They had a suspension. That's no one else's fault.
It was so clear to see what we were doing. It was so clear to see it. Right, so why in the FA? Because the FA also are too bloody soft. Right, they're too bloody soft. They should have put their foot down right there and then and said, I don't care if the loophole says that. Thanks for spotting the loophole. We're changing the rules. No, you can't do it. But
they've just let it go on and on now. Now Burnley have done it. More teams will do it. But in terms of Arsenal and your top 4 thing, I was quite impressed with you away to Liverpool. I know they didn't have Salah. No, they didn't have Mane, but they're still Liverpool at home. You obviously went down to 10 men with a ridiculous challenge. I'd love to play against Xhaka. I reckon I could get
some people said that's a yellow, and I'm like, how the hell is that a yellow?
Well,
the guy nearly kicked him in the face.
He would have been easy to get sent off, and I've played football with Ben, and he winds people up, so I know he'd have been able to get him sent off. But in terms of at Liverpool, obviously they didn't have their 2 big hitters. But they were kind of peppering your goal. You were sitting back. You looked dangerous, particularly with Saka. He looks to me like with Aubameyang out, I'm taking responsibility for the attack here. And you look like a team who were fighting for each other and all of those good things there. So do you see that as a positive thing going forward for your question?
Look,
he must be top 4.
If I can't see there's been a bit of if there's been improvement in the side, right, then I'm deluded. Right, there has been improvement. But when it comes down to it, it's all right. It's been near top 4 in January. We've been that many times. So also we've been in a title. We've been a top of January in the title race before, right? But when it comes to March, April, May, or even February, even us next month, right? You'll get the pressure builds and builds and builds, because not just like us getting top 4 is vital. Us trying to get the players we want for top 4 is vital, because we need it, because the players we want to get. So the pressure will build. And at the moment, like, if what Arteta needs to prove, if he's ever going to prove he's got the minerals to do a title race, is if he needs to be able to cope with this pressure and get top 4. With some of the decisions he's made already in this transfer window, and the fact we still ain't brought anyone in as well, because don't forget, like, people might want to say it's all Edu. No, it's not. He's the manager. He gets to say what goes on. Right? So these decisions, like selling Maitland-Niles off, or we got no other midfielders, that's the sort of thing that Wenger made. That Wenger made that ended up losing the title race. So if I see that from Arteta, that makes me believe we ain't going to get top 4. And it also makes me believe he hasn't got the minerals to do for a title race. If he hasn't got the minerals to do for a title race, why am I going to sit here saying we've got to give this manager time? Go get an elite manager that's got the minerals.
I mean,
I just got a question. Sorry, can I ask a question about Arsenal really quickly? Whenever I watch Arsenal, how come they don't get Saka, Smith Rowe, Martinelli, and Odegaard? Like there seems to be one too many there, right? Is it just me?
Yeah, this
Because
is
Smith Rowe, I think's a brilliant player, and I every time I watch him, I think he's great. But they don't start him always, do they? Is it just?
No, I don't know why. Because Smith Rowe could play either in the middle or on the left, and at the moment he seems to be satisfying with a balance of Saka and Martinelli and Odegaard in the centre.
Yeah.
But again, like it seems to be phases where he phased Martinelli out for about 10 odd games. He phased Smith Rowe out for 10 odd games. Then he'll do it with Odegaard. He's doing it with Pepe all of a sudden. He's done it with Pepe for a numerous amount of games. And the guy's never been given a chance. Every time he started playing decently for Arsenal, he was dropped. Right?
Yeah.
And he was our most. People might want to say the pressure was off, but he was our He was our top goal scorer last season. So people that saying he's crap, well, he can't be. If he's top scorer and he's only played in the last half games when the pressure's off, because that's what they keep saying. Well, he must be half decent then if he's doing it in that amount of games. So, but because he's not Arteta's player, no one likes him. Simple. So, but but the problem is that Smith Rowe, he loves playing him on the left, and obviously we want Martinelli there.
Yeah.
So it seems to be that he wants to have Odegaard in the middle and then bring Smith Rowe on in a minute. It will no doubt if Odegaard gets injured, Smith Rowe will be put in the middle. Right. Unless he does something stupid and put Lacazette there and put Nketiah up front. That is Arteta.
No,
that is Arteta for you.
I just wondered because, like, I just feel like Smith Rowe is always dangerous. I feel more so than Odegaard, but maybe I just don't watch enough of Arsenal to understand it.
Odegaard is not as good as Smith Rowe. Nowhere near.
That's the impression I get as well.
Near. Yeah. Like, I would love to play all. I think I can get if part of it is because he wants to keep some firepower on the bench, because maybe apart from Lacazette, Pepe, and this is when the whole team's fit, and Smith Rowe, there's not a lot else we can offer off bench. So he'd probably want to keep that in reserve. And every time Odegaard has come off the bench, he's not really shone. Whereas Smith Rowe has, he's made an impact. So he can beat and here's the thing. This is what I love about Arteta fans, right? When we beat you and Smith Rowe was playing when we beat Spurs, everyone was saying how great Smith Rowe is. He's better than Saka, this, that, and all the other. Right? Now all of a sudden he's been benched all the time. I asked a question in one of my shows, which is one of my Arsenal news shows, is why is he getting benched all the time? What's he done? Did he sleep with his missus or something? I don't know. What did he do? So, and what we get now is, oh yeah, but he's great as an impact sub. Well, you weren't saying that 5 fucking minutes ago, were you? Right. This is the thing. They swap. Some of these Arteta fans, right? Some of them have actually got an actual opinion and they stand by it. But most of them that you see on social media, they will flip-flop to suit whatever Arteta is doing, whatever the agenda suits Arteta. So if Smith Rowe is good as an impact sub, he's bringing him off the bench, he'll be an impact sub. If he decides to play him every week, right, he's a great player to have to start. It's whatever suits the narrative.
Yeah.
They give him. I've never seen Wenger have this much excuses, and he won us Premier Leagues, FA Cups, and God knows what. So how is this guy winning only a FA Cup and a dinner plate? Right, it's not a trophy; it's a dinner plate. Right, how is it this guy gets frigging all the excuses in the world? I haven't got the clue. This guy could probably commit murder and probably get away with it. With this lot. I'm not even joking.
Yeah, well, I don't really know how to follow that, to be honest. I'll start with a couple of unrelated comments. Barnabas has just said Jack Clark has scored against Blackburn under 23s. Be interested if he gets a chance for Spurs. Scott M, how you doing, Scott? Is questioning your Arsenal wouldn't have got 3 points. You had a better chance of getting 3 points on the weekend against our current weak team than he will if his son.
That's the thing as well. Is that
obviously we had a weak team with 2 people out. You've got I don't know 9.
This is the thing. If you play both strength sides, full strength sides, the way you are right now, who would honestly take all biased opinion, who would you think would win?
Well, I've always said with a London derby or any derby, it's who wants it more. And I saw us against Chelsea a couple of times, and in London derbies this time we start off so slow. And
But say if
so
it wasn't an North London derby, it's just two teams going at each other.
I don't know. We're at home and we've got the crowd behind us, so I'd say we'd be favourites for it. But again, it's how you start in these kind of games, and we just don't start. I mean, Mark, what do you think about that? You're obviously a Spurs fan. I've seen us.
To be honest with you, I think
derby this season.
Yeah, we've been atrocious really in derbies, and I think not that again we'll give Arsenal credit, but I've watched them a couple of times recently against Liverpool. And against Man City, was it Man City where they had a player sent off?
I mean,
well,
Liverpool was a great defensive
and they
display.
played
That's all we
really,
could do.
they played really, really good football. To be honest with you, I've got to give them credit for that. So, I mean, I don't know. It'd be tough. It'd be a tough, a toss of a coin, mate. A toss of a coin. The two strongest teams, because our players like Son and Kane, who are our best two players, are not really doing it at the minute.
Yeah, that's always been the key for your team. That's the problem.
Yeah, so it's a difficult one, to be honest.
I think with what I would say is that I would put us down as favourites even if it was unbiased. Just by
we can make that argument for sure.
But with the way probably things are in terms of us as a team, maybe if we lose our heads, then we could easily lose it, because that's what we did against Man City. It wasn't robbed; it was just us losing our heads. And that's Gabriel decided to lose his head, and that's how we lost that game. And that's why we need experience in midfield. It's all about having a young squad, but we need experience as well. So that's why Ronaldo on loan would have been a good move, right? For example, and it's when it comes down to it for me is that I'm trying to figure my train of thought here. No, I'm sorry, I've lost my train of thought.
What I would say, like, whilst Chris said earlier on, we're not playing particularly well. We're not, but in the form guide since Conte's come, we're second in the form table, which is crazy. I suppose because we've lost them 2 games against Chelsea in the cup. We lost them more in the what's it called, the Conference League, whatever the hell it's called. So we've had some pretty shocking results still under Conte, but actually we haven't lost the Premier League game under Conte.
But this is the thing. If you've got that under Conte, and if your team's not been playing well anyway, you should have been the first team for asking for a postponement then. Right? Because we should have had more confidence, like being a side that's good on form and looking one of the teams tipped to get the full spot, because we have been playing well, and especially against bigger teams. So surely, like, out of the 2 weakened squads, we should have been like, they've got a weakened side. We can take them. I know our side's weak, but they've got a weak side. Let's go for it. Right? But no,
it'd be interesting to see whether they ask for a postponement again. You got Liverpool again this week, is it, in the cup?
Yep.
So that'd be interesting to see if they go ahead with that game.
I would have thought you would. I think it's just the weak team that you would have had to have played are the team that lost to Forest. And I think I read that you didn't have a shot on goal. If you do that, at Tottenham,
that's what I'm saying.
I mean, it's bad enough losing to Forest at a lower league.
He played an 18-year-old and exploded him. Like, I'm sorry, Patino had played 20 minutes of football, right? And when the team news came out, right, every Arteta fan was going, "Yeah, that's right. Patino should be starting." Blah 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 blah. Under the game, they were like, "Why is he doing that?"
Yeah, I think losing to Forest though is obviously bad. But if you end up losing to your rivals, and if it had been a bad result, like we win 4-0, for example, there's not a huge amount coming back from that, is there?
Could you imagine how Patino would have been felt playing in that midfield against Tottenham, right, in a North London derby? Yeah, he might be buzzing for it, but after 10 minutes, right, if he can't cope with Nottingham Forest, God knows what he's going to do with Conte's Tottenham, no matter how weak and bad they are, right? He would have been torn apart, and the poor kid would have never, his confidence would have been shot forever.
Yeah, but you never know the young kids, like Chris was saying.
20 minutes of football, though. He's only had 20 minutes of Premier League football, or first team football. It's just not fair.
I think with these derbies, I mean, when Arsenal play Spurs, they're always, it's not all those London derbies. You guys You guys have lots of them in comparison to Mike's obviously involved in that as well, and there's a hell of a lot of them, and there's these sort of like pseudo extra rivalries you guys all get, the West Ham Tottenham one, as well, but I guess to a lesser extent West Ham Arsenal, right, and things like that. So, but I just think at the moment, I mean, it's surprising to see you guys see that Spurs aren't playing well, because from an outsider's perspective, it looks like Conte's got you on the up and up. I know obviously you've had the 2 bad results against Chelsea in the cup, but I do think those top 3 teams are just away. They're just away from the rest, and
there's a fight and fourth, and then the first 3 are
exactly. And I think losing a couple of games to Chelsea means very little in the sense in the cup. I mean, in the sense, I know you guys are desperate for a trophy. I understand.
All the way we lost because we didn't really lay a glove on them in that first leg.
I get that, mate.
That could have easily been 4-0 game completely done and dusted after half time. But I mean, in terms of the postponements, Mike, I know you possibly won't want to talk about this too much, but Leeds yesterday had a couple of 15-year-olds on the bench and showed what they can do. Obviously got a brilliant result. And like Chris was saying before with, teams don't gamble on the young players. You don't know how your young players are going to cope in Premier League if you never give them a chance. And obviously Leeds have had to do that with, quite a few of them. They've obviously had a really good result against you, whether you were poor or whatever is beside the point. But do you think the Premier League will see that and kind of put a stand now? And
do I think the Premier League will put a stand out?
I mean, history says no, because they're very cowardice.
So there are certain clubs that will get benefit of the doubt. We know that. 3 of those clubs are on this call, and my club isn't one of that. So that's not just because I'm on the outside looking in saying it. That is just the truth. It is the facts.
Well, I heard it was Leeds who said they wanted to play yesterday rather than the
the thing is, right, a proper club who looks at this and goes, there is no genuine welfare problem in terms of we have fit players, we have players we can make a bench. Whilst it isn't our strongest, there isn't a welfare issue, so we should play. We have injuries. That's part and parcel of the game. We've got a lot, but we can still field a team. Other teams, and in particular ones towards either the top end, and we've seen it in Burnley at the bottom end, have looked at it and gone, I don't have the necessary players to compete and to win. They've not looked at it and gone, actually, well, yeah, we have a few COVID cases and we're scared. We're worried about risk of spreading that across other teams and so on. Mm-hmm. It's not a welfare issue. It's purely a business problem and a business thing of we don't believe we have the players necessary in which to compete and win the points we need. Therefore, because we don't have the best team or what we perceive to be almost our best team, we're going to cry out that we have a potential welfare issue and we need to postpone the game.
Mate, Leeds, this is exactly what we have with Arsenal fan base on social media. This is exactly what they were saying.
Yeah,
it wasn't the fact of the welfare issue. It's just the fact that we can't play with that team. We'll lose.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the problem. It's then you essentially say, well, it's fine to do so. It's you kind of going, yeah, well, it's fine, isn't it? Let's just do that but then, and like I said earlier, when there becomes then a fixture congestion towards the back end of the season, when they have to fit in all these games, there's then going to be a cry of, well, this is unfair.
Yeah,
we need to extend the season because there is extenuating circumstances. Actually, hang on, you have one player ill essentially with COVID. Yeah. That's not an extenuating circumstance. That's you taking the piss out of the rules.
Yeah, and that
because I'm sorry, in winter, you could generally have 2 cases of flu during the winter season of football. But yeah, if you have 2 cases of flu, that's not substituting to getting a game called off.
Yeah, if COVID never existed, you wouldn't have got that game.
No,
I'll give you a good example. I'll give you a perfect example, right? And it's one of the most famous ones of all, and it got us top 4 in the end.
Lasagna Gate.
Lasagna Gate. You lot came down with freaking food poisoning in the morning of the game. Did you get it called off?
No.
We tried to.
They did try.
You tried, but you didn't, right? I mean, you got to give Wenger his due, but
You better go give Carl Fletcher his due. It was a screamer as well.
but
Right.
yeah, but like
I don't want to give anyone their due.
I had to put that one in, like, but
We'll cut that out.
yeah, but in the end, you didn't get it called off because we don't have this situation with COVID. So and that's even worse than what we had.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Mike's right with the fixture congestion at the end with people complaining. The consortium will be led by Jurgen Klopp, I'm pretty sure. Ryan McFarlane, how you doing, Ryan? I don't understand how the top teams get favours after trying to go to the ESL.
Absolutely,
It just comes
you know what I mean?
comes down to money. It comes down to money.
It's the fact of the matter is the top teams are the cash cows, and they are, rather than being emboldened by the fact that, you know what, you try to go and you can't, rather than actually setting a hard and fast rule of, by all means, go. You will not be allowed to come into the Premier League. You are removed from the Premier League and domestic competitions. Not only that, if you want to come back, that's fine, but you can't come back until a period of, say, 2 to 3 years. And if you do come back, you come at the bottom of the pyramid. If they do that, the whole argument about the ESL goes. The truth of the matter is, those clubs did it because they wanted to go back to the table and have a conversation about taking more money and having more money than the other clubs.
Do you know what
and
also
stifling competition. That is the whole thing. There's no other two ways about it. That's what they wanted to do.
Do you know why as well? It's not so much that, it's the fact that, not so much about the money issue, right? Because loads of teams can have, Newcastle got money, for example, but they couldn't do it because, and I'll tell you for why, Newcastle aren't a team that people watch. People watch
Not now,
the top.
but they will be.
No, there will be. No, obviously there will be in the future, but back then they weren't the team that everyone was watching. The teams that everyone watches in the Premier League are Spurs, Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, Man United, Man City. All these top 6 clubs, right? And because they've also got the money in the top stadiums, they knew they could have a power over the Premier League, because they knew if they went, it would cripple the league. It would cripple the FA. It would cripple their power, and it would be. It would destroy them. So that's why they did it, because they knew
the one thing I say about that
is to get rid of it.
It's not going to cripple them, because if they were smart, they just turn around and go.
Have the power.
No, but they do. The FA and the Premier League had the power to say, you are expelled from the competition. What power do those clubs have if they're done? All they're going to say is, but we earn you money. They also then turn and go, yeah, but actually now without you, we have a much more exciting proposition for the league, because we have the league opens up all of a sudden. We can bring some other clubs up. Yeah, the talent pool might change, but also if the FA turn around and say any one of those England players that leave can no longer play for England, those players are going to want to stay at those clubs just to go play in the ESL.
Overnight, you wipe money off your DTV deal, like billions.
You do.
Yeah. I mean, and I understand what you're saying. As a sustainable period of time, it will recover. Yeah. Everything recovers. Everything gets back to the top. But
they won't get the TV deal compared to the.
And also as well, there is that thing. If you say to them, "Off you go," then they go, "All right, off they go." Then right, and then it is sink or swim. And those clubs would make that ESL thing work somehow if that happened. If all the leagues did that, right, they would go.
You 90%. You're not saying it will work. It's only going to work if you get fans going to stadiums. Your clubs ain't your clubs anymore. You say it could work in all this, but the fundamental thing is your clubs disappear from the... Ben, what I mean is, your clubs all can say that we want to play Barcelona every week. Right, if you're not in English football and you have to go, or you only have 19 games at home, you can never go an away game unless you have a bit of money.
Yeah,
you're going to have far more tourists than you've ever had in your stadiums.
Yeah,
and this whole concept of what you lot identify as your clubs dissipates.
Yeah, but I mean that's everything with owners now, right?
But when it comes to like saying with the fans though, the games we wouldn't need at home stadium anymore, because the games will start being played abroad, right, wherever, right. 2, like they already knew by testing this league out and already that they could make a lot of money without needing the fans to go to the stadiums. Look at Arsenal, to subsidise what they were losing in terms of to subsidise what they were losing in terms of fan revenue, in terms of match day tickets, and on a match day, right, going to stadiums every week last season. Every time it used to take the piss. Every time we lost the game, we had a new kit coming out, and everyone would buy the kits. Everyone, they'd make millions bringing out a new kit every year, and so much more merchandise. And because of that, they could cover. They lose a bit. They lose some of it, but they could cover at least half of that amount of money that they lose every day.
I think you're
on
right.
a match day.
You'd lose a bit of the soul of your club for sure. I think you absolutely would. I really think that, but I don't think. But I don't think. I mean, you could fill like Old Trafford 7 times over.
For
you know,
me,
it's not. You know, I mean, and whether they would be as hardcore fans or not, who cares? I mean, we're owned by Americans. Arsenal are owned by Americans. You guys have got Czechs now. I mean, these guys aren't like, you know.
To be honest,
the soul of your clubs is already dissipated.
The soul of the club's already gone. But to be honest, that would have been the final blow for me.
They wouldn't care about the TV money. They're still going to watch their teams in the Premier League. Why would they give a shit about the money or the TV deals? Like, they're going to win the Premier League because all the top teams have gone and buggered off to Europe. Why do they care about where the money? Fans don't care. They're not going to attract. They don't need the money because they're not going to attract the top players anyway because they're all going to want to play in the Super League. Yeah. But they're still going to have we're watching their team week in, week out, where ours are playing in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. Or as much as people,
I mean, it's the soul of your club.
Yeah, it's gone. Yeah,
it's the thing.
We still have the soul of our clubs.
Absolutely.
We get to watch our. It's like, people go, but it ain't the Premier League brand's not that good. It's like, and I care because what?
Exactly.
Like when you when the last time you see your team? Well, we're playing in Australia this week, so I can't really go.
Yeah.
It's like, good. Right, enjoy it. Enjoy the multitudes of money you've got and all of these great players who will also get bored after a while. Because it's
only one team can win it. No teams get relegated. One team can win the bloody thing, and it's never going to be Tottenham. Probably not Arsenal. Might be Man United.
But the thing is, as well,
it's a closed shop with the occasional invite in. Invite someone in.
Yeah, that was the disgraceful thing about it. That was the disgraceful thing about it.
That's the only disgraceful thing about it, Ben. All right, okay.
I think it was the biggest. I think it was the biggest thing. I think it was the biggest thing that it was a closed shop for a certain amount of teams and put other clubs, like down a peg.
I'm sorry. I'm going to have to say that the most. Hang on. So the most thing I find about it, you're saying we need this to subsidise ourselves and everything in the middle of a COVID pandemic while people are losing their jobs and lives. You're sitting there saying we need to cover ourselves financially, right, with 450 million quid when you're already making mostly a profit anyway. You're only losing a little bit of money, and what you compared as a loss in millions for us is peanuts compared to you, right? For you, that is. And I would say also this as well. People, I already feel like the soul's already died out of Arsenal anyway. Right, we don't have the same traditions and values and standards that we did have. Right, half of that sometimes is the fan base because they don't live up to the expectations or standards that what Arsenal should expect. Right, so, but in other terms, is that like people could threaten. You could threaten the FA could have threatened them with, or UEFA could have threatened them with. You're not coming back in our tournament or FIFA. You're not coming back in if you sign a English player, they're not going to play in the Euros, right? Next in this Euros, they would have been like, well, yeah, that's fine. This injury's for us, more game time for them. Brilliant, love it. Right, let's do it because it's our player, it's our contract.
The thing is, and plus also would have actually said, you know what,
90%, but 90%. I guarantee you, the amount of money they were made, that it would have been able for them to spend as much money on contracts as possible. So they could have gone to any player, and instead of saying, whether it's one club you get to play Euros and everything and all that in the Premier League and have a chance of winning it, right? You play 180 to 100 grand a week. We could double that for you playing in the Super League.
It just turns
but 90% of them would have gone.
Just turns into the Chinese Super League, and fans will turn around and go, you know what? Good riddance to him. We'll take all your money.
I would have been
That's
done.
what it
I
is.
wouldn't have never
You
supported it. I wouldn't.
No, exactly. But
I
like
would have
clubs
loved Arsenal, but I would never supported it or followed it.
clubs would have turned around and said, basically what they did to Newcastle. They have one price for everyone
Turned
else,
away.
and then you have a 2 to 3 times price for those guys. But also fans would have been like, fine, because it essentially, for lack of a better term, gets rid of all of the wrong ones. Because all the ones that are just interested in money and the ones you keep are the ones that want to play competitive
The
football.
thing is,
That's
though,
why I
Mike,
would have
like,
turned
every
away.
team that had been offered it would have jumped it. It wasn't
Yeah.
like any team would have jumped at it.
Exactly.
Every single one.
I think
This
we
is
know
what I'm
that
saying.
they would
This
have.
is what I said about with other teams from the league that were saying like, how dare these teams do this, that, and the other. And part of me was like, hang on a minute. If you're in that situation and your owner's in that situation and said, we're going to offer you 450 million just by turning up at this tournament, you'd not buy the opportunity. Don't be stupid. You
we
buy
got
it at
Goldson
that.
and Brady, but they would
Mate,
have
it's
snapped
like
their
me
arm off.
saying, we're going to offer you 2 billion, we're going to offer you 750 million in the lottery, and I'm going to go, yeah, I'm all right.
You could have said
Bullshit.
we'll offer
You're
you a
gonna
pound.
Rightly, fans stopped it, didn't they? I think that was the biggest message. I think that was the biggest message of it all.
Clubs, they stepped up and they made a stand. So they reminded the clubs that their lifeblood is going to go.
Yeah.
They'll have these tourists who will flitter in or out. And once, the fad of the ESL would worn off, so would have attendances. They would have had money coming in from TV, but that would have also then started to dip as attendances started to dip. So it would have been something that might have gone for about 5-6 years. But then after that, I'd been like, I'm actually bored watching. People who turn around now and starting to say the El Clasico is getting boring because they've seen it so often, and it'll have that same effect, that prestige that came from
That's
that.
the thing. The prestige of Champions League gone.
Yeah.
Well, the ESL's a conversation for a different time.
Sorry.
It'll obviously come through again because I don't think it's gone away. But Mark, this is a Spurs channel, so we better talk about these idiots.
Oh, God.
I'm allowed to say that. I'm a Spurs fan.
To be fair, mate, I think a couple of us would say the same.
I could have said something a lot worse.
You're very welcome, Stephen, coming on. I appreciate you coming on. And Spurs, Mark, in 6th. 4 games in hand over West Ham and Chelsea, and 3 and 4 over City and Liverpool.
I love you put predictions 6th if Kane stays.
Oh, this was Ben who did this before the season started. We did a stream.
Very specific.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a big difference, isn't it? Imagine that.
Not really this season.
Well, to be honest, if the season ends now, Kane's still there, so you got that spot on, Ben. But Mark, how do you rate our season so far, and how do you see our season going? Or do you think a lot of it depends on what does happen, if anything, in this transfer window?
I think it depends on what happens in the transfer window. I think it depends on what we've already touched upon and what happens with Kane and Son. If Kane can start firing again, what's he got this season? 5 or 6 goals?
Yeah.
You got half of the season to go. If he can start getting onto the form which he has in him, and I think the carrot dangling of Champions League might be that kickstart to get him. Realistically, we've got a chance of the Champions League. He might start firing it, but you need him to score goals, because if you ain't scoring goals, you ain't getting top 4. It's as simple as that. And we need 1 or 2 more bodies in as well.
You know me for quite a while. Playmaker is crucial. Eriksen's been rumoured to about half the Premier League. I'm really kind of uncomfortable about that. What's happening? If it's deemed that it's absolutely safe for him to play, fine, go and join whoever you want to join. I'm not sure it would be, but obviously he'd be an answer to our problems if it was an Eriksen Ovano 5 years ago.
Where would you play him though? I agree with what you're saying, but my thing is,
where do you play? Not Conte's thing. He favours kind of a deep line one, doesn't he? Which may suit him a little bit better if he did come to us, because I assume there's a little less running.
Well, he knows Conte's system, doesn't he? He's played with Conte into it. Took him a while to break into Conte's team and system. So, but I agree with you, mate.
I'm not sure he's the player, but that's the type of player, I think. But who do you think we need in?
I really want a backup striker, mate. I feel we really need, because although I've said Kane isn't playing well, not really scoring, if he's not there, we have nobody else. We have nobody else. You can say Son, but again, he's injured.
The other thing, if you get a striker, is that it gives him a bit of a kick up the arse, doesn't it, Kane? Like, oh, I better play well, otherwise I'm not playing. But
and I think,
or it gives him the incentive to say, "You've got a striker, I can now go."
Maybe as well. And if we get decent, listen, Mike. To be honest with you, most Tottenham fans in the summer didn't begrudge Kane going. If the right money would have come in for Kane, most would have said, "Look, mate, it's time for you to go. You deserve to be in the Champions League. You deserve to be." The way that it was handled is what rubbed people up the wrong way, to be honest with you. So,
me and Chris spoke about it before. He's like, when you hear about the gentleman's agreement, at that point you kind of go, "Well, fair enough. There's gentleman's agreement there. You can go." But then again, gentleman's agreement with David Levy.
It doesn't happen.
It's written on, is it?
Ryan Daigle, I think most of us know, once said that a gentleman's agreement with Levy is like going for a prostate exam, going to the doctors, and then finding out the doctor's Wolverine. It's just, it's not a good deal to do something like that with Daniel Levy. But Vlahovic has obviously been linked. He's now linked with Arsenal, so we'll come to Stephen in a minute about that.
It's not realistic again with Daniel Levy. I can't see him spending the 70 million potentially, and he's reportedly wants 300 grand a week. It's just not. It's a no-go, isn't it? It's not going to happen.
Every player wants 300 grand a week. Is it just me or every single player now? Like, I mean, like Pogba. Sorry, I don't want to go back to United, but Pogba, he's done nothing to justify the wages he's on now, right? And wants a raise, right? And I feel like every player is like that. I mean, this Vlahovic guy for Spurs, he's going to want to play. He ain't going to want to. Just come. And it's always been Spurs' problem. They've got to find someone good enough to back Kane up, knowing they're not going to play, right? Yeah. And I think it's always been the problem for Spurs because, I saw today Martial linked with Spurs.
Loan move was rejected, I think.
Loan with obligation. Levy just wanted a loan. We wanted an obligation to buy at the end of it, and Levy was like. But Martial's problem isn't the fee. I think Levy probably would have done the fee. It's his wages. He wants 208. He wants to go up in wages. The guy
he's on 280. I think he's on more than Kane, and that ain't going to happen if he's on a loan deal.
Everything's nuts, and I don't think I've ever known a January window where so many teams are like, we have to bring in 2 or 3. I mean, it's a mugs window, right? Yeah. Like you generally.
Everything's overpriced in the January transfer window.
It also depends on where you go and what you do. If you look at like Monaco, for instance, last year they bought Tchouaméni for about 16 million euros. He's now rated about 80 million euros. The fact is, it's overrated and it's expensive if you are looking at players that are at top level teams, or if you're trying to go someone like Vlahovic. It's just you need to be smart and economic in this window.
What do you think of Vlahovic, Stephen? He's obviously linked with you at the moment in time as well.
The only thing I've got a problem with him is age. He's very young still. Age is great at 22, but we've got young players as it is. We need experience in our team. And people are going on about Vlahovic at Arsenal, right? That's a problem. Like I just said earlier in the show, right? Midfield is our problem. We should be worrying about getting a bloody midfielder in. Not a striker. Vlahovic can wait till the summer. And plus he'd probably be cheaper in the summer. Because like I said with the January transfer window, he's always overpriced, especially when teams are trying to find a player because of a situation. Teams will bump up the price by an extra 20 mil. Leicester are bloody good at it. If they know that you want him, they'll bump the price up. So, and don't blame them for it. But it's just, so I don't have a problem with that. But I mean, like,
what I find funny about Vlahovic is that he's overpriced. He's 21 banging goals in, whereas
he's 21, 22.
Well, I find it quite funny. 75 million for him is 75 million for him is overpriced, whereas Haaland's made 70 in the summer. He's
this is what I'm saying. And what I'm saying,
price one isn't.
Here's another thing I wanted to ask. I wanted to offer up, but unfortunately now he's at Leipzig and we missed the trick, which is Andre Silva. Andre Silva last season scored 7 more goals than Haaland. Right? And I know, like, Arsenal vlogs Luca, he keeps saying that he's shit and he's not worth anything. Right? Well, how could he be shit if he scored 7 more goals than Haaland last season? Right? And 2, how could he be crap? How could he say he's going to adapt? He can't adapt to the Premier League if you don't even know if Ivanovic is going to adapt to the Premier League.
I think
It's the
with
same-
Haaland,
same-
everyone knows him, so therefore he's the real deal. Everyone else
Yeah,
is
of course,
below, even
but-
though
And he's done it in
Andres-
Champions League. He's done it in Champions League.
No, do you know
level as
why?
well,
Because
isn't
Haaland's also very young as well, like Valovic. Right? They're both very young. But Andre Silva's like 25, 26. They're about 20, 21, 22. So, that's why I would say Andre Silva for me, because there's a bit more experience in there. He's been at a big club. He knows what it takes. Valovic is only, really, he's been standout. He's been Valentina. So, really could be able to not adapt to the Premier League, but adapt to a big club and the expectations and the pressures. Right, because that's a big thing to deal with, especially when you're coming from a league that's so slow. It's barely comparable to the Premier League. Bundesliga is a little bit more fast paced, so you can actually compare it a little. So that's throws that up for me. But I don't say I wouldn't take him though. I'd take him. I'll definitely take him. So.
Chris.
But our midfield is the biggest problem. I will just say also, people that say no, they need 2 or 3 players for this window, I do feel that's got something to do with the COVID situation, because for example, we need an extra midfielder and 2 midfielders, not just because we sold on loan, but also we've got COVID cases as well. But that's the same with other clubs as well, because of their COVID situation. They might need a midfielder or 2 to get them over the line. So,
to be honest, mate, we needed about 4 players before we got into the into the
Yeah.
summer. So we're one of those clubs that when we say we need 3 or 4 players, it's genuine that we need 3 or 4 players, because we came into the league pretty ill-equipped, but had a manager pulling off a miracle, to be honest, and players just about staying fit until our whole defensive line decided to have a sabbatical and pick up injuries.
Mark, do you need to head off? Is that what you?
No. I was just going to say, in a dream world for me, mate.
I'm not trying to force you off.
No. It's all right. No, it's all right. In a dream world for me, mate, the one that I would like to get, and I don't know whether it's realistic or not, would be going back in for Dybala. To be honest with you, he's not signing that contract at Juve. He's a creative spark. He could play alongside Kane. But it's not really realistic. But if you got rid of Ndombele, tried to ship him off there in a dream world, that's what I would love to see.
That's the big issue as well, I think. I mean, you said yourself, Ben, wages. He's on a fairly big wage. He's also bloody awful at this moment.
That's a major problem.
£60 million back. There's no way on earth he's getting 60 million from Bele. And going back to Conte, Ben, and we've got a comment from Jay Ashraf. He's called us all idiots. He must be watching another stream and then he's accidentally asked a relevant question. I'm not sure why, or if trying to be funny, but anyway. Could you ask if they perceive Spurs as a threat since we appointed Conte? Does the Conte factor worry them? I'll ask you, Ben, because Conte was linked with you quite heavily, and you turned him down or he turned you down. I'm not sure which, but obviously we've got Conte now. For me, he's looking really fed up at the moment. He's only been here 2 months. But he's obviously a winner as a manager. But does he worry you, or do you think we need some players in for him to really worry you and get the players in that he kind of wants?
I like Conte. I think he's a good manager. I don't think he'd have been right for us personally. I know some United fans do, but I wasn't one of them. I do think you're obviously in a better position with Conte than you were with Nuno.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that goes without saying. I think I said to you on the stream at the start of the season, if I was Spurs, I would have gone and got Potter. I mean that's just.
Well, he's the one that I wanted.
I just think Conte, whatever he does for you, however good he is for you, and I feel like he will get you in the mix for Champions League and that, it's always short term. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is the club who he takes to his heart and he's here 10 years.
No, you're right.
I don't see that. And maybe Spurs fans don't care. But to me, I think that's Spurs' best chance of really being something, like they were with Poch when he had the time to build. And I think that's what Spurs need. I think with Levy and Enoch and that, you're never going to, I don't think, spend the money that, City, Chelsea, United, even Arsenal this year spent a hell of a lot of money in the summer, didn't they? So, I'm not sure you're ever going to be like that. So you've got to build slowly, and I think Potter over a sort of a 5-year period with Spurs could have really been something.
Apparently, he turned us down. I mean, at Brighton, he turned us down, which that to me says he hasn't turned us down. He's turned Levy down, but only Graham Potter knows the actual answer.
Yeah, I think Ben's right that he is a short-term manager. What I would say about him is Mourinho is also a short-term manager, and the difference between the two is when Mourinho goes in, he destroys a club from top to. When he leaves, well, as you know, Ben yourself, when he leaves, yeah, exactly. When he leaves a club, it's fractured, it's broken. He leaves a mess in his wake. Whereas I think Conte, every club he's been at, if you look at Chelsea, if you look at Juve, if you look at Inter, they've always left in a better position and they go on and still win things. So, so I think that's the difference. I think I wanted Potter as well, but if you'd have given me a choice out of Conte and Potter, I would have taken Conte because I want, you naturally want that bigger manager who's won things and everything else. I think Potter would be a good choice, but maybe after Conte, because he won't be here for long. Especially with Levy around, he's not going to be here for long.
He's frustrated already, isn't he? I mean, there's some big rumours coming out that he might walk.
I don't think that's. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, Chris. I don't think that's.
I think if he doesn't get the transfers that he wants in January,
after the North London derby, if he loses that, he will walk. I
think if he doesn't get the transfers in January that he wants, Levy has to give him the transfers or some of the transfers he wants in the summer.
I don't believe that.
I think.
No, I think he'll give you to the end of next season. He'll give you that because he'll want to have a summer, but he will demand money. If he doesn't get the money, that will cause ruptions. If your season doesn't work,
Chelsea,
then that will be it. He will just go, no, you don't meet my standards. My standards are of a higher level than yours. I can go to any club in Europe. I'm gone.
And that's the problem. I've said to Chris for a long time that if we're serious about, you either lower your expectations as a club, as in Levy, and saying, look, we're not the Champions League club anymore, or you back the person to try and get you there. It's as simple as that for me. So you've got a manager, you've paid him a lot of money, you know he can do it, you give him the players that he wants in order to do it.
The problem is you're about £1 billion in debt, and the players he wants are probably going to cost you 50 to 60 million pounds a piece, and he probably wants 4 of them.
We're linked after Kessie, who's free in the summer. Rumoured about 10 million now because I don't know who he plays for, someone in Italy.
80 Milan.
They want the money. Give him 10 million, get him now. Yeah. Or if you really don't want to pay the 10 million, just get him on a pre-contract thing. But then he's going to have a queue of people potentially lining up for that. So just jump in. Be proactive, get him now for 10 million. But
if you actually look at all of Conte's signings, which I have actually done at Chelsea, and I've looked at Inter. He does spend a fair amount, but it's not always 50 or 60 million pound players. No. He does sign a lot of players that you would look at and go, what the hell is he signing him for?
Ashley Young.
Sometimes they work, sometimes
Ashley
they don't.
He signed him and put him at wing back and it worked.
Yeah, this is what I mean. They're not always the massive...
I mean, Conte for me was like, when you lot were trying to get him, I'm like, why are Arsenal fans making the excuse and sitting... this is the thing. If any Arsenal or any manager gets linked with Arsenal in a minute, they attack them like that he's shit, he's rubbish, he's no good whatsoever. I mean, Benitez for one, they might not be good anymore, right? You never know, it might not just fit at Everton. But, for example, someone said he's always been a tactical disaster. Well, how do you win a Champions League then? And then the league with frigging Real Madrid? Like, it can't be a tactical disaster if he does that, right? And that's with a prime Barcelona. And he managed to keep Newcastle with no money and a Championship side in the Premier League and got them up to about 11th at one point. Right? So he can't be a tactical disaster, can he? Like, they would attack anyone that gets linked with the job, like they were attacking Graham Potter for one time. Like, and even don't think even Vieira's got some just yet because of the fact he's connected to the club. Like. But, like, what Arsenal fans kind of said about, Vieira, for example, and that's one of the links, is that he managed to do in about 10 games what Arteta can't do in 2 years, which is a best formation, a lineup, a style of play, right, a backup plan, right, tactical substitutions, in-game management. He's managed to do all that in about the space of 2 months and be able to ship out a young old side to a new side.
But to be fair though, let's be a bit fair on that. Crystal Palace had about 11 players out of contract this summer. He also pretty much failed in France and made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah,
so
of course,
he's learned a lot.
Learned
so then when coming to Crystal Palace, he had a lot of mistakes to remember on and to then
he's made those mistakes. That's the thing.
Yeah,
and that's why
that's what I mean. It's slightly disingenuous to say that he's come in and done all this immediately, which Arteta hasn't. But Arteta hasn't had the time to make the mistakes that say Vieira.
That's why Arteta shouldn't be in the job then.
That's a fair point.
Arteta's also got a lot of pressure at Arsenal, whereas Vieira is kind of. It's not no pressure, but there's a lot less.
But hang on a minute.
To be honest, it's a brilliant proposition, isn't it? To be honest,
but this is the thing. Everyone keeps saying, like, the really, really deluded ones, right? They keep saying like he's the next coming of Pep. He's the greatest, best young coach ever, and everything like that. And I'm like, well, if he's that so freaking good, then why aren't we challenging for a title? If he's that bloody good,
because Pep's there.
Right, there you go. Well, yeah. To be honest, when Arteta took over one game against Man City, they were playing. I think it was a lower opposition side. He took over that one game because of I think it was Guardiola's mother died, right? And he played that game and he lost. That tells you a lot, doesn't it? Right, but so just thought I'd put that one out there. But it's look. In the end, I would take. It's kind of similar to Tottenham. You're linked with Conte and linked with and Potter. I would have taken Conte because even if he's a 2-3 year fix, right, he gets you trophies. He's done it everywhere he's gone. He's got trophies. So why is it?
Look what happened with us.
But like Conte was still doing it. No, but Conte was still managing to do it like big time. And
to be fair, you sat
in a good place.
Cup final, so he might have got you a trophy. So, in all honesty,
he's doing it He's doing it, and he's leaving the team in a good place. He's not like destroying the team at the same time, right? And I just didn't get why we didn't go in for him. Potter, for example, again, like top quality manager, knows how to deal with players, knows how to manage players properly, knows how to get a best lineup, a best 11, outplay that squad pretty much hands down, right? Brighton have got no right to be where they are right now in the league, not on paper, but every season they seem to do it.
Yeah, I saw something about Brighton that only City, Chelsea, and Liverpool have lost less games in the league this year than Brighton.
There you go then. So like,
so many.
That's what I'm saying. So like for me, like if you were offer Graham, if Graham Potter was available, I'd take him straight away as well. Because if you're looking for a long-term project, that's someone I could build it around quite easily. Because, for example,
I just think at the moment Spurs, though, just going back to Spurs, I think they have. At the moment Spurs have to be the favourites for fourth. That's how it feels from the outside. I don't know if anyone else agrees.
Computer screen.
No. I mean, I do. I think you've got a manager, like you say. You've got the games in hand. You've got a little bit of form coming. Like you said, like Mark said, you're doing it as well without Kane really.
I wouldn't like West Ham, sorry.
I think West Ham are good, but I think like Mike says, me and Mike talk about this a lot. It's not West Ham's first 11 at all. I mean, and Moyes has done a great job there, but they will get found out if they don't buy depth. I mean, they bought that Crowell guy and he never plays. I mean, it's almost like they're worried to play him.
We got him on loan. It's a dodgy situation.
He's managing to outplay that squad that on paper shouldn't be where it should be, and he's managing to outdo it. But you ask any Arsenal fans, who would you take out of West Ham side for Arsenal, and they'd say maybe their right back. Maybe Declan Rice.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, everyone would have Rice, right?
Anyone saying they would maybe take Declan Rice is just a joker because he goes into probably every single Premier League club.
I'd take Declan Rice, but then there's also an option of Calvin Phillips to me as well. So it's one of the two for me.
I just think with West Ham, and it's no disrespect at all because there's part of me that would love West Ham to do it over Spurs and Arsenal.
What Moyes has managed to do there. He's done that in after being appointed about a week after Arteta was appointed, and he's managing to finish in Europe in both seasons, in his first full season, and now he's going to probably finish in Europe in his second full season. Well, we finished 8th twice, and one time in an FA Cup. So surely his process is working
we
better
would probably
than
take what you've had with Arteta over what we've had. So he says, is that weird kind of thing? Because
with Arteta, though, with Arteta, do you think there's an element of similar to Manchester United with Solskjaer, because they're I don't know if Arteta's considered a club legend. He was obviously a top player, but
what did he do?
Because he played for you.
Cups. Come, if you're doing Vieira, yeah.
Well, me and Mark, I can guarantee me and Mark will take 2 FA Cups in however long Arteta.
But Arteta, come on.
Do you think he's getting a little bit more leeway because he used to play for you in a similar way that because with Solskjaer, if that was anyone else who hadn't played for United, he'd have probably gone earlier than he did. So do you think Arteta's getting a little bit of leeway?
Probably, but Chris, for example, Arteta, the problem is the reason he hasn't gone. And the reason he hasn't gone after the Spurs game when I went Arteta out last season in the North London derby at the Tottenhams Stadium last season, then against Villarreal when we got knocked out of Europe, that should have been when he was gone. Should have been straight out the door after that game, because we didn't score just one goal. He had a chance to score one goal and he takes our striker off. I'm sorry, it's a capital offence. He should have gone after that. It's after all those chances, and they're still saying that he's still good enough. And he gets more chances than Wenger ever did. And look what Wenger done for us.
Do you not see, like, again, from the outside looking in, I think now I've never seen Arsenal as a threat for 2 or 3 seasons, really. But now, I watched you the other day against Liverpool, and I watched you against Man City.
I see the improvement. I do see the improvement. I give it.
I think now, like, would it be if you back him a little bit, he gets rid of some of the bad eggs, like I don't know whether he is or not, but from the outside, again, looking in Aubameyang and some of the others, and starts bringing through a few of the youth team. Is it not the time to back him now? He's been there. He's got a system in place. Getting rid of him now, is that the right thing to do?
For me, he needs to prove he can do a title challenge for me in the next, by not next season, maybe the season after. You should be thinking about a title race.
It's so difficult when you've got Chelsea and Man City.
Of course, it's difficult, but then all top league sports difficult, and like they're not going to just
without the money, without the financial backing. No one.
We spent the most. Yeah, but we've spent the most in this last transfer window.
Yeah, but
so we're going about time.
You're talking collectively though over a 4 or 5 year period.
We've spent the most but since 27, since we bought the club outright, 100% by the Cornkeys, we've spent the most out of any other club in the league.
Oh, really? Well, I'd have thought that we'd have been right up there.
But this is the thing. So we can do it.
I thought we got Levy. We're the lowest, aren't we?
I just think City, even Liverpool to a degree, as well. If you've got to get 92, 93 points to win a league, you have got to. We finished second last year, and I think we did well. We were really in it till February. Right, and I remember Pogba scoring against Fulham. We went top of the league. I think that was early February.
March and April. April for me is like, if you lose it then, I'd say it's like a title race.
Yeah, but I just think
we've lost it so many times in February. We've been out all in 1 week, and we
I just think, like Mark says, I can see. I got
rid of Wenger because of it.
I can see Arsenal now. I personally can see like a style, like a thing of Arsenal, and I feel like it is more concerning, as a United fan. So that's where I am with it. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to win a league. I don't think he is. I don't think he is. But you've really got to go some at the moment to topple that top 3. I mean, they are 3 elite managers, really elite managers who can all spend fairly big money. Okay, Liverpool don't maybe spend as much as the other 2, but they
spend it well, Ben. They spend it well. They rarely get a transfer.
That's the thing. They spend it well, and that's the thing is that will Arteta, which so far he's been given what he's got, what he wanted. He's got what he's wanted so far at the minute.
Yeah.
So
how many
for the
points
minute,
did you end with, Steve, last year? How many points?
I don't know the off the top of my head.
I mean, let's just say for argument it was 75. I don't know. There might have been less.
Last season,
right? But I mean, to find 20 points, no matter how much you spend in one season, if that's what you've got to get to 95, that is incredibly difficult. I mean, incredibly difficult. And you know, City have raised the bar in terms of just.
But that's why you need an elite manager then.
Agree, but
So
they're
why are
not.
we
I mean,
sitting with him?
they don't. Then there's not many around, and you know, like the Premier League is particularly tough because I think managers who want to come or players who want to come know that probably year in, year out, unless you're probably playing for City and Liverpool, you might not always get top four. You might have to have a season sitting out of the Champions League or a couple of seasons out of the Champions League. You know, I mean, even like Adidas with United put a clause in United's contract. I think if we don't finish in the Champions League places 2 years in a row, they'd cut our money. You know, it isn't like Spain where generally you know the top three or you know.
I understand that, but like in the end, that's why I want an elite manager who
would you want, Steve? Who would you want in now? Just now,
the ones available.
Now.
The ones that are available.
Yeah,
like,
or realistically, you could get Ten Hag.
Great, you're great at managing young players. Attacking style of play suits Arsenal to a T. Right? So I take Ten Hag in a heartbeat if that's my real ambitious target. Like, because for me, like that, I think he can take us. Maybe not to. He can take us to a title challenge, right? And this is the thing: if Arteta doesn't get top four this season, it proves to me he can't handle the pressure. If he can't handle the pressure of top four, he can't handle the pressure of the league. No way. And if that's the case, I'm not going to sit here and back him because I got rid of a manager for continually finishing top four, and in the last 2 seasons finished 5th and 6th. So why would I back a manager that's doing the same thing?
Maybe I'm just fan of a patient approach with a manager. I think you have to give him time. And I think
trust me, I tried to give him time, but in the end, it's clear to me he's not going to get to what I want.
I think Spurs though. I think Spurs like this season. I would have them now as favourites of top four. You mean?
All 4 of us are aiming for that top 4. Obviously, West Ham are in that space. But before we get on that, Mark, I know you need to go in a minute. Yeah.
Some people have all said, sorry, is that with Arteta and the whole gist of it is that, look, if he doesn't get it, like if he doesn't get the pressure of top 4 and he can't achieve it, then he just doesn't prove it to me. He just doesn't prove it to me whatsoever that he can take us all the way. And in the end, there's some fans that have never backed him at all because they do not believe in training a manager, right, for an extended period of time. And when you see other clubs like even West Ham have got lesser squads and seem to be doing better than us, it raises the question mark: why aren't we doing that? Right. So in the end, as much as I've given him a chance, if he does, he's still proving to me that he won't be able to challenge for the league. And if he's not going to do that, then I'm not going to back it because that's what I want. That's what I want in the end. And that's not saying I want it this season or next season. I'm saying in the long run, the long objective, how long we've got with him.
Okay.
Well, West Ham are 4th at the moment, and I asked earlier any teams who surprised you. West Ham have surprised me, Mike, because I thought with Europa League and you have got a smallish squad, I guess.
We've got
it would have hampered your league progress, obviously, because you're fighting on 2 fronts, and you're qualified through to the knockouts of the Europa. I can't remember if you finished 1st or 2nd. I think 1st, but anyway. And now you're 4th. Obviously, games in hand and could change that. But at this moment in time, as the league table stands, you're in 4th. You must be pretty happy. I know yesterday you were furious. Firing all
yesterday was an odd one, man. It was.
But yeah, you must be delighted with your season at this moment in time.
like, let's face it. I think when we chatted earlier in the season, I said if we finish 8th, that's fine. You know, we're still looking to consolidate, and the problem is we started so well again that you start to believe. Me being a West Ham fan, I am waiting for that bubble to burst, like every good West Ham fan should be. I'm just sitting there waiting for that bubble just to go, and then us
Maybe
to
you shouldn't blow the bubbles in.
yeah. So it's just it's just how we are. We're programmed to not expect much. That's why we joke around saying that we are massive. It's just that it's just a pure joke because for us to be where we are is not where we expected to be.
What proves to me, Moyes he's done this with Everton, remember?
Yeah, he did do it with Everton. And to be honest, when he first came in, none of us expected it to go back this way because Moyes didn't look like that manager. And prior to us going into lockdown, there was a genuine fear we was going to get relegated and we weren't playing well at all. When we went into lockdown,
reputation from Man United.
Yeah. Once we come out of lockdown, as a team under Moyes, we completely changed, as well as even some of how we played. There's always with Moyes some things that you get concerned about, and that some of the substitutes you look at and go, you question why he's making that sub or why it's taken so long to make that. But by and large, as a West Ham fan, there's not much you can complain about. Last season was a brilliant season. We've been, for the first half of the season, until December, where we first then saw Bonner go down. We then saw Zuma go down. We then lost Cresswell. All of a sudden we've lost 3 of our back 4. Even Soufal went at one point. So, December's been a rocky month for us. And, January's been pretty good up until the Leeds game. But we're now starting to creak because of the injuries. And, we had Souček was out for a COVID case. And, we then only had Rice in midfield with Lanzini. So it's once you get past that first 11 is strong. And then, the old saying of we can beat anyone on our day. But we've proven that this season because we've beaten Liverpool at home, beaten Chelsea at home, should have got a better result against Man United as well, and beat yourselves at home. So, we have beaten the best bar Man City this season, So on our day, we have beaten good teams, and we've been really been playing some real quality stuff. But now is the concerning part because we lost the Leeds game. Now the next game against Man United is if our ambitions to be in that top 6, top 4 conversation, we can't lose to Man United. Because United have games in hand. Obviously, Arsenal do, Tottenham do. So that game against United is a game that we can't lose if we have aspirations of being top 6, top 4, because other teams are coming. There's no two ways about it. If we can manage not to lose that.
Yeah. Just very quickly, Mark had to jump off. Cheers for Mark. Anyone wants to follow his podcast, Raw Emotion Podcast, you can find that if you go to his Twitter handle at 1981 Spur. Sorry, Mike.
I'll give it. But yeah, now it's really important for us to get this January window correct, because not only is it important for us to get it right for the remainder of the season to kind of set us up to go, but it's also one of the most important things is to set a tone to Declan Rice that we are progressing, and in the summer we go again, because I think we will have him for another summer. Although there's all the rumours that are coming round, the club, rightly or wrongly, have really made a stance. Whether it's right or wrong is another thing, but they've made a point of saying 200 million. Obviously, they put a number that they know no one is going to pay.
Exactly what Levy.
Because quite frankly, it's like with a house, isn't it? I don't want to sell my house, and you come up to me and say, I want your house. It's like, yeah, right, then it's twice the amount.
It's exactly what Levy did with Kane in the summer as well. And,
but we never gave a gentleman's agreement.
Neither did Levy. He just said that and then he walked off.
No.
I have to be honest, Mike. A gentleman's agreement for your lot is probably the same as a Levy's agreement.
Well, to be honest, mate, with ours it probably comes with a copy of Razzle. So
Rice and Kane are very similar in the sense that Kane's always said if we're progressing and moving upwards, he'll stay. And I think if you get into the top 4, definitely you'll progress in there, so you'll definitely stay. But if you're on the verge of it, you're not dropping, and he's a West Ham fan, so I think he will stay. But in terms of your priorities now, you're obviously in the knockouts of the Europa. You've got a very small team as well who have dropped out from the Champions. Barcelona.
We'll do them, mate. It's fine. Easy.
I know they're not the team by any stretch they used to be, but they're still a huge, huge team. And they're probably one of the favourites, if not the favourites. But the way you're playing, and you can beat anyone in a day. You mentioned Liverpool, you mentioned City, Chelsea, Spurs. You can beat anyone on your day, and it's 2 legs in those games, unless you get to the final, and then that's one. But what's your priority? Top 4 or winning the Europa League? Or there's obviously the FA Cup as well. But and in January, what do you think you need to achieve whatever your objectives are, and do you think you'll get them?
What I think we need and what I think we'll get are 2 separate things. What I think we need is a lot more than what we can do. Yeah. So, we need a centre forward. Not really as backup. We need a centre forward who can compete with Mikel Antonio, because as much as we all love Antonio at West Ham, he can go from Champions League to Sunday League in 30 seconds.
He does though give you a threat constantly.
He does. I mean, this is the thing with Antonio. He can get the ball. He can take it around 3 players, get 5 yards out, and then twat it over the crossbar. That's Mikel Antonio in a nutshell. In fact, he could probably hit it out for a corner. We love him.
He's regarded as one of the best in the world, so it happens. But as long as you're still contributing, and really, he assisted one of the goals yesterday, and he should have assisted another one. Why Bowen's not gone with his head, I'm not sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, to be fair to Bowen, he turned around and he stated that he let everyone down, which is a ridiculous statement coming from a player who's got 18 goals and assists this season.
All top strikers tell you who used to play in the game. Shearer says it all the time when he's on Match of the Day. The time to worry is when you're not getting chances.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're not getting chances, that's because you're not moving and you're not. So he's always a threat to me, and he didn't get the chances yesterday, really. But he got some assist. Well, he got 1 assist and should have got another. So he's still contributing to the team.
He's massively contributing. And he's massively contributing, Antonio. The problem is, as we said at the start of the season, he tends to have hamstrings made of cheese strings. It can be a bit of a worry. We've got to rely on. We've got one man who can play that role, and if he goes, that is our season. We don't.
Well, that's what happened last season.
I can't see Bowen taking that mantle up front.
That's what happened last season when you were in 4th or really in the thing. Vice Antonio got injured. It kind of derailed the last few games.
This is the problem when we look at our team. We need a centre forward. We certainly need a centre back. In an ideal world, we'd actually go and get a centre midfield because of Kral's not worked out. So there's clearly a need for another centre midfielder, because if you go once you go past Souček and Rice, that the level of quality drops drastically. And arguably again, you look at what happened with Cresswell. If he gets another injury, we're relying maybe on Johnson to kind of come in, but it's a big ask for the kid to go on his unfavoured side, and even though he's been brilliant there, to go on and do that thing. So, arguably we need a left back, centre back, a midfielder, and a centre forward. Are they realistic? No.
Mike, what striker I think would be good for you? That chap that plays for Ajax.
Allaire, is it?
Allaire? He was all right, wasn't he?
Yeah. I've heard about him doing quite well at the AFCON as well.
He look good in your colours, I think. Yeah,
I know.
I think it's been a terrific season for West Ham, or half season for West Ham. Certainly on the back of last season, like I said, I had you not struggling. I had you maybe 10th, something like that, because the Europa League would.
And to be honest, I think that's
to be 4th and be in the running. Well, it's not February yet, but nearly February. I think it's tremendous. And in terms of manager of the season, I mean, it will obviously go to whoever wins the league, Liverpool. which is absolutely ridiculous. I think Moyes was very unlucky not to get it last year. For me, it should go to the manager who achieved above their expectation the most. And most teams had West Ham to be in a relegation battle, and you finished 5th or 6th. I can't quite remember.
Yeah, if we were to
ended up
fourth,
in the Europa League, which no one would have given you even would have laughed at you at the beginning of the last season. So I think he was very unfortunate, and he's doing the same again. But it will obviously go to Klopp or Tuchel or Pep.
And that's the thing. Essentially, if it's the Premier League, it goes to either wins the Premier League or wins the Champions League, right? That's the manager of the season. Even though it's meant to be based on the Premier League, it's not. But you know that whatever that really is. But you know, if we was to finish 4th, that is an incredible achievement because, quite frankly, on paper, that our squad one isn't big enough, but also doesn't have the talent of other teams. So to get there would be ridiculous because we don't have a manager of the caliber of other managers, you know, and that's being brutally honest about where we are. Same with the playing staff. But what we have is a brilliant team mentality that he's fostered and players that work incredibly hard for him. So, you know, what he has done to that club is he's taken what Pellegrini tried to do, but added the work ethic to it. And, you know, he's got players that want to work before letting their talent shine out. You know, the prime example of one of those players is look at the difference in Ben Rama this season to last season, but also look at Fornals, the way he plays and how.
Oh, yesterday, wasn't it?
Oh, he's a brilliant goal, and he was absolutely everywhere against Leeds. And one of the players, as well as Declan Rice, who could have walked off that pitch with their head held very high.
He's been great, isn't he, Fornals? Every time I've watched him, because I think when Lingard didn't go back in the summer, I think a few people thought, you know, I think maybe me included, thought, maybe that might be the difference between, you know, fourth or you know, a bit lower down. But Fornals has really stepped up in that kind of role, hasn't he? And I think, you know,
So what? I'm surprised that Lingard decided not to go.
I think there was a bit of family stuff as well why he stayed at United, and I can understand why Lingard stayed. You know, it's his boyhood club. Ronaldo just signed.
He's never going to get the time though.
Well, I think Ollie did promise him though. I think Ollie did. I think Ollie maybe did a bit of a hatchet on him. I think he did say, you know, after Bruno, I see you as the next in line in that role, and then Bruno very rarely doesn't play. So it's, you know,
yeah,
it's
I think he got sold a dream, and there's a lot of
January. Lingard, we've been linked with Lingard.
Well,
I'm sure
we could be going back in for him. I don't think we will stop going in for Lingard until he signs with someone else, to be perfectly honest. Such is the love affair that Moyes has for Lingard. I think it's, you know, it's like the one that got away for him, you know? It's the goal that he can't stop.
I think if Lingard was to leave United, he won't really want to go West Ham, because I read something last week that was saying that apparently Newcastle are interested as well. I think United quoted West Ham, they wanted 5 million in January, but they quoted Newcastle 20. so it was
amazing. But let's face it, that's what every club's going to do in Newcastle, isn't it? You have one price for everyone else. You have a price for Newcastle. Everyone's going to want a slice of the pie when Newcastle come calling. So, you know, Lingard would be a smart move to come back to West Ham, obviously, because the games he'll play and he will be essentially the fulcrum of our attack. But, you know, on the other hand, I can understand why he wanted to stay at United. He probably got sold a dream, and I think he was maybe a bit naive to believe it.
Just to cut you off there, sorry, Steve, I know you need to leave. Thanks so much for coming on. You've got your own channel as well. It's in the description for people anyway, but for anyone who doesn't know where it is, what's your channel? Tell us a bit about it.
Yeah, it's SVT TV. We do Arsenal, football, and though we do F1 content, the F1 content will be going to its new channel home by the end of February. The channel's launched this Friday. Before the Checker Flag show in S Feetly F1. The Twitter and Instagram pages are literally, it's at S Feetly and just put F1 on the end of that, and you can follow those two pages on Instagram and Twitter. And yeah, it doesn't support as much as SVT TV and Children's Liver Disease Foundation, but if it does get monetized, unlike 80% that goes to the charity via SVT TV, 50% will go to the charity from SVDF1 if it gets monetized. That is. So,
I've
just
been on
start a new
Steve's channel a few times. Great channel, great guest, and it's good to have a conversation that doesn't involve name calling with an Arsenal fan. I'm sure you'll say the Spurs fan, but and certainly when we end up having this rearranged game, I'm sure I have to get you on here as well. Luca as well, who's in the chat as well. How you doing, Luca?
You got to have me on there just a bit of giving me a bit of reason.
Thanks so much for coming on and take it easy. And we'll talk to you soon. Make sure when you've subscribe on here, you go to Steve.
Mike, what's your Ben? What's your Twitters? Then I can.
Hang on. Let's see if I can change it.
I have no idea. I've got nothing to promote, Steve. I'm very boring. So I think Chris has put it in his thing. I honestly don't know my handle. Honestly, I'm not even a joke.
If you go on,
in the handle now.
And they're both on the description for you, Steve, as well. So if you need that,
okay, they're in the description. So
and on the tweet that you'll get tomorrow to promote this, you'll get the Twitter handles.
Oh yeah, wicked. All right, noise.
Cheers, Steve. Take it easy.
Yeah, man.
Take care, bye. See ya.
Yeah. Thanks to Steve there as well. Arsenal fan. It's good to see that. Quite surprised he was so angry at Arsenal rather than the Premier League about the fixture postponement.
I really didn't realise there was so much hate towards Arteta. Really, still, I thought that had sort of dissipated a little bit. But there you go. You don't know.
Yeah, I think he's Marmite manager for some.
Yeah, I get it.
We've got a comment here: minutes away from an equaliser, light years away from a trophy. I'm assuming that's about Spurs.
Could be about West Ham, to be honest.
Mate, I think you put all three of us in that.
Another team now, Ben. Talk about Ragnick, Ronaldo, Martial. You're not allowed Poch, I've decided, after Ragnick. He's obviously a temporary manager, which I always think is a bit risky because the players who aren't in favour there, he's only here for 6 months. So, in 6 months, a new manager comes in. Ronaldo's just come out and then said, seems to suggest that some players there aren't all about winning. It's about getting top four, where he said if it's not top three, I can't remember exactly what he said, but if it's not top three, he's not interested. That's not exactly what he said, but it's a similar thing. And then rumours now that Martial didn't turn up to training, and then there's a bit of an argument between Ragnick and him about what happened. His gamer has said about Spurs, I mean, light years away from a trophy, there's only one team that can be about. In terms of Man United, I mean, let's have a look at the table. You're below us, but obviously you're going to have some games in hand as well. You got 2 games ahead of us, but 2 games in hand, and West Ham point behind us, 7th. It's not beyond the realms that you'll get top 4. It's not beyond the realms that any of us, or Spurs or Man United will get top 4, or West Ham keep hold of top 4, or Arsenal or Leicester get in themselves. It's been a bit of a weird season. Ronaldo coming in was obviously the massive fanfare, played really well against Newcastle. It's kind of gone downhill from there, similar to my fantasy football team. He did superb in that opening game, and it's all gone downhill. Manchester United should be winning things because you're the biggest club in the world. So I'm assuming you're not particularly happy being in 7th and being miles off of the top again. But your thoughts on this season so far, halfway through?
Yeah, obviously, I think obviously finishing 2nd last year, we really wanted to kick on. I think I said previously, in February we were there or thereabouts, and obviously we're not going to be there this year. So I always look at it by like the points that you make. I always think that progress isn't always defined by position you finish. If you finish a place lower but you get 10 more points in the season, you can still claim progress there. I think the problem with United is I think there was a great sign at the game at the weekend that said something along the lines of rotten from the top to the bottom, and that's a little bit kind of how it feels at United at the moment. It's not a harmonious atmosphere.
Way there, obviously from it's not I can tell you.
Yeah, it's not a harmonious place. I think
You've got about 11 players having you wanting out at the moment. Looks like Ben's frozen.
Obviously, YouTube doesn't like Man United. It's cut him off. We'll talk about Spurs again.
He's back. I was saying, Ben, isn't it that you've got like 11 players or something that Ranić is essentially not ostracized, but the way he's come in, the way he's been, there's like 11 players that have just said they want out.
Yeah. I think we've got I think we've obviously got the Ronaldo thing. Some players aren't taking him coming in very well. So I don't know. I think there's a lot to go with United. I think we've got a big rebuild on our hands, to be honest.
Yeah, there's quite a few teams I think that have. One that it's Gamer has said he's a Chelsea fan. Man City have to lose 4 games in a row. I'm not sure that's going to happen. United is in a state, drew 2-2 after extra time, I think, but I'm not sure who.
Aston Villa. Aston Villa. Yeah, I think
because of their signings of the window. But yeah, I mean, you were 2-0 up. It was Fernandez's best performance of the season. He did a bit where he chased after a lost cause, which we haven't really seen from him. And talked about Arsenal against Liverpool, all working for the team, apart from maybe Xhaka, who's having a bath. But they're all working for the team. But it was surprising. I heard it on Sky Sports that Fernandes was chasing after a lost cause. So that surprise suggests that maybe you haven't been working as a team. But it shouldn't come as a surprise that players are running after things and trying.
Yeah,
and
minimum.
That's the way it sounded on Sky Sports. So, and like Ben, like Mike said, Ranić wanted 11 players out. He's only there 6 months. How?
No. 11 players wanted out because of Ranić.
Yeah. I think which obviously 10 of those players could be players that the new manager, whoever that may be, I need them in my team. So, do you think it's appointing him into him?
No, I don't, because I think Ranić's actual value to us will come after he goes upstairs. I think that's always been the case.
He's a manager now and then goes upstairs.
Yeah, that's always the plan. I think what I would say, and it goes for every club. United aren't special in this aspect. If you don't want to play for the club, go.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not talking about be brilliant. But if you're not willing to do the basics and just run. Run hard. Come off with no regrets at the end of the game. Then I mean, this is Man United. We'll find players again.
That comes to your point earlier with Martial. If you don't want to play, go.
Yeah.
Pogba
the same.
I want to go. Someone needs to pay me 280 grand, and I hardly ever play. That then comes the issue. We're going to have that with Ndombele, Delhi, whatever he's on. Who Levy will demand 40 million each for them, and I mean that's dreamland.
Well, here's the thing, isn't it? Like United hierarchy will complain about there's an inflation in the market, whether that be January or summer, and then about wages. It's like, but that's of your own making. If you're offering players like Pogba 500 grand a week, then the next player comes in and goes, well, I'm playing as many games as him. I'm going to be your new star. Well, I want 600 grand.
The problem with Pogba,
it's like Gareth Bale, wasn't it, when he went to Real Madrid? Same thing happened with him and Ronaldo. He's like, I'm going to be your star man. You're building this around me.
And I think one of the problems with Pogba is he's seen as a bit of a troublemaker, and he's on 500 grand, and United will demand X money.
Quite honestly, though, Chris, I couldn't care less how people think of him. If he turns up and plays well, I'd like if Declan Rice is being a nuisance in the changing room at West Ham, but he turns up every week and puts in 8 out of 10 performances, people don't talk about it. That's just the way it is. Pogba has missed 82 league games since he's come back to United. 82 through injury, suspension, or whatever. Right? It's 3 seasons, nearly. Yeah. So look. obviously we don't want to sell him for free, but we might have to. Fine. But if it comes about, if he doesn't want to be here, then I'm happy for him to go. I really am. And I think the one thing I would say about Ronaldo's comments is, I think Ronaldo's problem is body language, and I get that body language. I don't like it necessarily, but I wouldn't be angry at Ronaldo for having standards for Manchester United. You know, like like you said, Chris. I mean, what United? Founded in 1878, something like that. We haven't won the league 100 times. You know, there's been plenty of seasons where we haven't won the league, the majority, in fact. All right. So I'm not concerned necessarily, but you've got to show progress. And under Rangnick, what I would say is I'm getting very LVG vibes, and I'm telling you, I can't go back there. Right. So yeah, I can't go back there. They were dark times. And
you mean you don't want another dossier on a team playing a long ball football?
Nah, I don't care. Right. And people say what you like about Ollie, right? I enjoyed watching Ollie's teams. Right. I enjoyed it. Right.
I think some of us also enjoyed watching Ollie's teams.
But we spanked teams as well. We and for someone to do better than Ollie, they've got to win the league.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
And I think the problem is, it's who do you get to do that when
there's only 3 managers. There's only 3 managers I would be considering at the moment, and that's Poch, Ten Hag, and Potter. They're the only 3. I
think I'll cry if
that's long term anyway. As a manager, that's
fine.
Very much you go long term on that one.
Fine, but fine. Like that's the case. It's the case. I think Brendan Rodgers might be the next one, but you know,
he accepted being what he did at Liverpool. We'll come on to Benitez in a little bit, but will he be accepted there if he doesn't hit the ground running instantly? If you got him,
maybe not. But would any manager be accepted? I mean, what United have got to get out of, and this is why I was saying earlier to Steve about I'm a fan of time. Like Mike's in it now with West Ham. They've got a team that knows who's boss. That manager's not going anywhere, right? You run like Ben Rama. He was saying Ben Rama might not have run as much last season. He's running this season because he gets to get more minutes, right? And and I take the point about the short-term thing with Redneck. He's got to manage that. And I think Ferguson said, didn't he? I think you've said this before, Chris. It was his biggest mistake saying that year he was going to leave and then he didn't, retire, whatever. And I think that's where United are at the moment. We are in a bit of a holding pattern. If we can still fourth this season, great. But I mean, to do that, we've probably got to go and win, 10, 11 more games from the next 19, probably, minimum. Do
you think you can get fourth? Where do you think Rangnick can get you? Or do you think
he can get? Look,
do you think he needs to dip into the market to be able to get fourth?
Look, I don't mean to sound rude about teams. The players at the moment are a bunch of individuals, but the individuals are good players, right? There's that that's not a question in my head. I know Maguire gets a lot of stuff, but Varane and Maguire are good enough. Sure, last season was the best left back in the country.
A lot of the England
you say they're good enough. You've conceded 29 goals this season, so
yeah.
But to your point, though, but I will take your point that you said that individually these players are good enough. As a team, they're not.
Yeah. But again, I think I would question how many times Varane and Maguire have played together. Varane's had injuries, Maguire's had injuries. Well, and De Gea's had his best season in a long time. It could be worse.
De Gea's stopped you from conceding any more than 29, and that's
coming to short. A lot of the players who played in the Euros and got late into the Euros, with the exception of Vice, maybe Saka recently, have struggled. Kane struggled, Shaw struggled, Maguire struggled. There's been, Pickford, who when you look at Everton's position, has struggled. There's been quite a few of them. Sterling hasn't had the season that you normally associate with him.
Yeah,
do you think you can get fourth, or do you think it's slightly out of your reach in this moment?
No. Look, I think we can. I think we can. Like Mike said, I think it's a big game against West Ham next week. I think if West Ham beat us there, are United really gonna? Are West Ham going to lose 4 more games than us to the end of the season? Probably not, if I'm honest. I don't know. I mean,
depends what we do for the rest of the window.
Yeah. I mean, but again, going to the point, I think I've said this to you before, Chris, but Eric Dyer at Spurs, when Spurs weren't doing well, Dyer got a lot of flack. Right?
We have a scapegoat every season. It's been Winks season, Delhi, Dyer, like you said before, Kane.
It doesn't make him a bad player overnight.
No,
right? And I think people forget about Maguire, that last season he was outstanding for us, right? And I think he's got to come in. I think him and Varane, if they could stay fit, would be a good partnership. I think the good thing about United is if we went and get our manager in the summer, we don't actually need that much. Right, even if the likes of Pogba, we've got Jimmy Garner at loan at Nottingham Forest at the moment, who I love. I think will definitely be part of us next year. I think he's playing out there. Obviously, I saw him against Arsenal, was amazing in that as well. I think we've got 4 or 5 other youngsters. I think Ethan Laird at Bournemouth on loan, being at Swansea as well as a right back, in a position right back at the moment, which is very competitive. Wan-Bissaka's not had a good year. Dalot is actually starting at the moment. And I think Ethan Laird is probably better than both of them going forwards. Maybe a bit more worrisome defensively, but there you are. We've got Ahmad, we've got Chong to come back. I'm not saying these players are going to start. Alanga started yesterday or Sunday or whatever it was. And if there's a big clear out, if the likes of Pogba, Ronaldo, Cavani, Lingard go, I'm not overly worried by that. If anything, United have needed it for a while. Jones as well, I think is another one. So I'm not overly good. I think we can get fourth. I think Rangnick can get us fourth. I have no problem at all about our forward players. I think if Ronaldo and Cavani did go, then we would need a striker. I think Greenwood long term could be that, but he's still young. He's still young there at the moment. But I've got no problem with our forward players. I think under the right manager, we would get something out of them. The Sanchos, the Greenwoods, the Rashfords, the world. I think we'd get more out of there. Obviously, midfield is a position we need to work on. I like McTominay personally. I don't really get the hate for him. I think if Declan Rice had played like he did against Burnley, everyone would have been falling over themselves. But so I think he needs maybe not to be a starter, but I think he's fine. I think United could do with 2 new central midfield players if Pogba goes, and I'm not talking necessarily, well-beaters like Mike very well knows. There's a lot of good value out there, maybe not off the 200 million Rice shelf, but the kid at Monaco.
Yeah,
I can't pronounce his name.
But he's also the player right next to him, Fofana, is equally as good as well.
So there's value out there, and I think, Rice, obviously, Phillips would be another one. I mean, the player I'd love more than anything, but I think he's Liverpool bound, is Bellingham. I think, but there's a lot of players where we can improve there. And what we do with Fernandes, I think, is vitally important. Fernandes really has to be our 10. Fernandes still has created more clear-cut chances than anyone in the league this year.
Yeah,
right. It's not, so it hasn't got the assists or the goals, but and I don't really buy the whole Ronaldo's a problem thing. He's scored enough goals to warrant what he does. Does he work hard enough? Maybe not, but I mean, I don't see Salah sprinting like 95 yards. I mean, Trent Alexander-Arnold left one-on-one all the time. So I'm not too dismayed. Obviously, the performances aren't good enough at the moment, but I have no problem with the squad. I think all joking aside, if we were to buy Rice and Bellingham next year and spend 250 million just on those 2 alone, right? I think the team would be vastly improved. I think it is what it is. We've got to find those midfield players. We've got to get that balance right there, because going back to Maguire and Varane, they have had no protection this year. McTominay is a box-to-box midfielder. Fred is also a box, and sometimes they just abandon it. It's just a big empty space.
What I said to you when we did our kind of preview, I think you needed maybe not Rice, but that defensive midfielder.
I think it's tricky, because I think if you go with like a single defensive midfield player, then you kind of lose Fernandes. He ends up being in a free, and it's not as good. Whereas if you can find 2. that are good enough to control a game of football. We've got enough in the rest of the team, I think. And so I'm not too disheartened. I think if Greenwood, Sancho, Rashford, I think the future's bright there. It's just not happening at the moment. And I think defensively, like Mike says, we just look so frail. Like even when United went 2-0 up against Aston Villa, when that first goal go in, you just knew. You just knew. Like it wasn't. It sounds like, but in the olden days, I don't want to go back to I don't want to sound like Liverpool fans, but like in those days, 2-0 up, Keane and Scholes would have just killed the game.
But that's what we're missing. That's why I think we need a creative midfielder. It's definitely evident against Chelsea. Is that what you get with a creative midfielder? I'll go to Eriksen as an example. You obviously get the creativity and the goals and the assists. What you also get is someone who can control a game and speed a game up, slow a game down. And Eriksen and Dembele between them, when we had Poch in that, I say glory days with Poch, we won fuck all. But that was the best I've seen us play in my lifetime. But what used to happen is a team used to score against us. Those two would get on the ball, keep it for 5 minutes. All the momentum the other team had from scoring a goal dissipated, and then we go again. That's why I think we need someone creative. But we basically talked about all our three teams, Leicester and Arsenal as well, with Chris and Steve as well. We better mention the other teams. This is a Premier League review as well. We're not going to go through them like we did last time when we were on here for 4 hours. But in terms of European and relegation places, I'll bring the table up. In terms of relegation, I think Burnley have obviously sold Chris Wood, which was quite a surprise.
They didn't have a choice. It was a release clause, wasn't it? Yeah,
but if they don't get a striker in, I mean, they are banging trouble. Newcastle, it depends how their new players gel.
Well, what Newcastle have done very cleverly, though, is they've weakened those around them, haven't they?
Personally, not wanting to upset any Newcastle fans, but the Arabic countries, the human rights records are absolutely appalling, and taking them over. I'd love for them to go down. Norwich, I mean, a huge win against Everton.
Who saw that coming?
Chance of going up. Sorry?
Who saw that one coming as well? The one against Everton.
Yeah, but obviously you've got to take into account here games in hand. Burnley, I say, in trouble. They're 3 points off. They've got 3-4 games in hand.
One thing that is interesting, though, Chris. One thing that is interesting is that Burnley play Newcastle last game of the season.
Yeah. I mean,
and I think if you look at Newcastle's fixtures at the end of the season, right? I'm just going to read them off because I've got them on my phone here, right? So starting in this is just April onwards. Okay, I'm just going to start in April, right? Spurs away, Wolves at home, Leicester at home.
That's 3 points and 0 points, isn't it?
Leicester at home. Then they've got an easy one away to Norwich. But if that's a relegation, if they're all in it still, those games become very different, right? Liverpool, Manchester City, Arsenal, and then Burnley last game of the season. So those 3 games, before the final day of the season, right? Liverpool, City, Arsenal. So if Newcastle aren't picking up considerable points between
February,
now and got to remember the 2 games they've had postponed for COVID are away to Everton and away to Southampton. So they're going to have a lot more away games on the card. I mean, I think Newcastle will survive because, like Mike says, I think they're probably by weakening the others, they'll probably get it. But that goal that Watford scored at the weekend was a massive goal, massive goal, and I think Newcastle. You asked me a month ago, would Newcastle survive? And I said 100%. I wouldn't have even had a thought. They just spent 50 million in the window and they would start to go. But they're on 12 points.
Yeah.
You got to think that Leeds now are probably away from them.
Yeah, I'm not sure that was a huge win for Leeds yesterday. Not just because of the depleted squad and everything, but you look at the points there. They're was that 9 points ahead, and they've got a game in hand on one of those teams in the bottom 3. Everton. I mean, what do you make of Everton, Mike? I mean,
I think it was
have gone right or wrong for Benitez, but I don't think anyone ever thought that this time, 19 games in, there'll be 6 points up of relegation zone. But you'd expect them to survive, wouldn't you? They'll get someone in who's still in the ship and then sort them out.
I reckon they'll probably go back to Big Dunk and just ask him to take over to the end of the season. So I reckon Duncan Ferguson will be the caretaker manager for the rest of the season. I think it's probably the most sensible thing for him to do, because last time he went in, he got a reaction. So they'll probably go back to that.
Yeah. I mean, Calvert-Lewin hasn't helped their cause at all.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's definitely hurt them
so far.
But the thing that I found quite amusing about it, obviously, Devon fans won't find it amusing, but obviously they brought in Rafa. That was never a fan's choice because the Liverpool connection. It was never going to go down well. But it's the simple fact that they sold Digne because they were backing the manager. 2 days later, because he lost the game, they sacked him.
Yeah.
Surely, if you're going to back the manager, you then go, we're giving you this window, and then we're going to give you 3 more games.
Brought someone in as well. Is it El Ghazi from Villa?
I'm not sure, but I know they brought in Milenkovic. Was it Milenkovic? Not Milenkovic. Sorry, Mikalenko. They brought in.
What does he think about this? Oh, Benitez wants you. Oh, thanks, Rafa. Offside. Bye, Rafa.
Yeah. It was.
What does he think? Now he might not be in the manager's plans at all. It's just, very strange.
It was an odd appointment in the first place because of obviously all of the connections to Liverpool and that rivalry. It's never really going to go down too well.
No.
And then let's face it, they didn't back him in the summer. He got 3 million he got to spend, and that went on to Mari Gray and getting in Andros Townsend on a free. So you kind of go, well, he's not been backed. He gets to January. They backed him with about 27 million on, I think, on Malenko, or whatever his name, Mikalenko. They then sold Digne because he fell out with Rafa, and then they got rid of him because the form was bad. And it's like, well, is he to blame for the form, or is that the board to blame for years of spending terribly to the point of financial fair play meant they couldn't spend this summer? Obviously, they managed to find some money in January that didn't put them outside of it or in trouble with it. So, you've not technically backed a manager. You've then decided to give him a bit of cash, backed him in that getting rid of one of your best players, and then you lose your next game, you get rid of him. It's just looks like what they've done is they've seen the fans' outrage and they saw it as directed at the board, and we need to distract, and this is going to get them partially on side and then forgetting about how bad we have been in this whole situation ourselves and how culpable we are. So let's get rid of Rafa. Let's probably chuck in Big Dunk in as caretaker or interim manager to get the fans back all excited because of that, and hope we get a win next week. It just all seems a bit diversionary as opposed to it's a clear, decisive decision backed by logic.
Like you say, it was never really going to work unless he hit the ground running because of the Liverpool connections. But if we go back to the league, I think Brentford will be okay. It's been a terrific anything above 18th for them. They'll take, I would have thought, at the start of the season, new team promoted first time ever. So I think they'll be safe. Villa will come back to in a sec. Southampton, I like Southampton. And Ragnick, what's his name? Hassan. Always does a brilliant job there. They always lose players, or they always, oh God, what is Southampton going to do? They have a terrible start and they look to be safe. Palace, as we've mentioned, their gamble now of trying something with Vieira seems to have paid off. Leicester, we've talked about. Brighton, you weren't far off there, 11th, if that stays, and that could prove to be the point. But what a job Potter does there. Wolves, I'm surprised about. They were kind of nowhere at the start of the season. They might be losing Traore to us, but that requires Daniel Levy to spend money, so he'll be there until May. But yeah, in terms of Villa, let's go to Villa first, Ben. Coutinho, Gerrard, Digne. Do you see them pushing for European places? No. I'm not talking top 4 here. I'm talking open.
I don't because I don't.
Now, are you saying you don't because you cannot bear Steven Gerrard to?
No, I think they'll slip up.
I agree with Ben. I think on paper they're smart signings, but
slip up. I wonder if anyone else got that joke there.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, you know, it's on paper they're smart signings, but you just kind of look at it and go, there's still a bit of a soft underbelly when you look at that defense. You know, you can still look at Villa and go, you can get at them. You know,
yeah. I think in fairness to Gerrard, all joking aside, this season is as much as anything about finding out about the players he's got. You know, I think again, you can't say, oh, you got to give people time, but not Steven Gerrard. You know, like you got to give every manager time. I mean, obviously he's got Coutinho on loan. Obviously started well. Whether or not they'll end up signing him or not, I don't know. Obviously, I would have thought the wages might be quite high end there.
It's an option, isn't it? So they've got a brilliant deal there because if it does go well, they can sign him. If it doesn't go well, no obligation. Send him back. We'll go someone cheaper, younger, someone whatever.
Yeah, I just think this season might be a bit early for them. I would still see teams like Brighton slightly ahead of them, Leicester slightly ahead of them, Wolves slightly ahead of them. So I think no, but I actually, in a weird way, I kind of think not getting any European football won't be a bad thing for Gerrard next year. I think that would help. I think the big question about the league is, I mean, where are Villa now on 23 points? Yeah, they'll be fine. They're going down. But I think the big question is what the threshold will be for the bottom three, and like how quickly.
Looking very low, isn't it? Remember the days that it used to be 40 points?
I mean, last season,
32 points, I reckon, might be it.
Last season was 28, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Last season, Fulham went down with 28. Yeah, so I think, and I think Villa haven't got any worries there. So the sooner Villa get to sort of 30, another 10 points, 33 points, they'll then start cruising.
Finish minimum at top half, minimum 10th, I think.
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I think Everton will probably come back a bit.
Obviously. But in terms of a fight for Europe, Ben, we're not talking about Champions League here, but we've obviously talked about West Ham are fourth at the moment. Then we've talked about Arsenal, Tottenham, United, Leicester could break into that top four. Obviously, that then puts you down to eighth.
Yeah.
Anyone you see? Let's say eighth for the Europa Conference because the FA Cup is won by Man City or someone who's already in Champions League. Do you see Brighton, Palace, maybe?
You know what? I keep like a banging the same old tune, but every one of the things I always look for in transfer windows now are Brighton going to buy a striker?
Yeah,
I keep thinking just buy a striker.
If they can get someone to score, then they will be up there. They've only lost 4 games all season.
Yeah,
the rest
remarkable.
They got, I think 10 draws, 6 wins.
Yeah.
No, if they had a proper striker, they would probably be where West Ham are. If they had a striker this season who could score, essentially, basically, if they would have had Mikel Antonio, Brighton would be in the top 4.
I agree. Yeah, I think
they'll be top 4 team right now.
This season, with or without a striker, do you see them breaking into the
without
top 8?
Striker, no, because they can't. They just can't convert chances unless it's in the 90th minute and Mopay gets like of 12 gets in the 18-yard box. It's only in the last 90th minute where they seem to turn it on. In that
Super Danny Welbeck at the bridge, But I mean, like joking aside, I think the top 10 will be the top 10. I think what the top 10 is now: Leicester, Brighton, Wolves, United. Not in that order necessarily, but I think those teams will end up being the top 10. I think Villa will probably be 11th. I think they're probably the next best. And then I would say the rest of them will just filter down. I think those 11 teams are probably better than the others. And I think, I don't see much difference there. I think Wolves have been the big one for me. I really thought after Nuno left, they might struggle.
As well. Certainly with their... But do you see any teams where they are at the moment dropping down massively?
No, not really. I mean, like Mike says, if West Ham don't have a thicker squad, then potentially, a couple of. I mean, if they, for example, if Rice got injured for a month, or Antonio injured for a couple of months, that's a big blow if they don't sign anyone.
I mean, you put Palace 17th, they're 11th. I'm assuming that's because you didn't know how it would go. And I don't think there's any danger of them slipping down to those levels now. I think they'll finish 10th to 13th if they have a bad end to the season, maybe 14th. But
I think Brentford have got to be careful. I think Brentford have got to be a little careful. Like, it's quite easy for Brentford, for example, to maybe go lose 6 on the spin.
It's usually
that type of thing. But I think that there's enough teams below them. Like, you can't really see Watford, Norwich, Newcastle, and Burnley going and winning 10 more games this season. So it's for me, I hope Watford stay up. I got one of my mates is a Watford season ticket holder, and I hope for him they stay up. But like I and everyone wants Newcastle to go down, right? No,
I think the thing is as well, if you look at it with Newcastle, pretty much anyone bar, I'd say, the traditional top 4. So Man United, Chelsea, Liverpool, and I say traditional because that used to be Arsenal. But if you take Arsenal out of that equation and put in City, anyone else below that are in trouble when it comes to the transfer window, because all of a sudden the window for those clubs becomes incredibly inflated, because Newcastle will go for everyone every player outside of the reach of, within the reach of, say, the top 4 teams.
Yeah.
And the ones in that band below, they will go for everyone. When you look at someone like Botman, for instance, we had a look at Botman. Milan had a look at Botman, and apparently it was asked about 25 million euros, something like that.
Yeah.
When Newcastle went in, they was obviously told more. But clubs are then backing out because it's like, I'm not going to go in there because not only is the fee going to be inflated, because they're going to, well, Newcastle offer me this, what are you going to offer? So they know you're not going to offer as much, but they're going to bump it up probably about at least 5 to 10 million.
Yeah.
The players' expectations on wages is also going to go up slightly.
Yeah.
So they're going to naturally inflate the market for the clubs in that set below.
Yeah.
And they're going to be going for all the top players because they're just going to throw money at them.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to bash them for that, because let's face it, everyone's got to start somewhere, and you've got new money, so it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But for clubs that are building, such as West Ham, Villa,
Brighton,
Brighton, Wolves, for example, as well. Like, we need Newcastle to get relegated next year, because the market is going to be one that we can work and operate in next season.
Well, if they stay up, they are absolutely mad in the summer, because I think a lot of players now are going, I don't particularly want to go there because I don't like the prospect of the Championship. If they stay up summer, they'll go absolutely mad.
I think as well, it'd be interesting to see some of these contracts of the players that go in. Like, I wonder if they've got like relegation out clauses, or if we stay up, my wages double. I can see that, because I mean, like, it's a risk for players to go there. I mean, take someone like Trippier, who maybe outsider, but really is in contention to go to the World Cup this year, right? He could start next season in the Championship.
Yeah.
And I think, so he's, there's no way that can't be a little bit motivated. I know Trippier wanted to come back to the England because I know he wanted to go to United in the summer, but
he's a clever signing, though, I think, because before he came to us, he was at Burnley in a relegation scrap, so he knows what you need for relegation. I think he's quite a good signing. Wood as well, who apparently have never really been in a relegation scrap, but they've been down at that, in the bottom 3 at times. But Mike, in terms of the top, Man City have been very poor this season because they haven't won the league yet.
Chris, sorry, Chris, can I just ask a second, Chris? Who did you say were going to win the league?
And Man City are top. I said Liverpool, but it's obviously looking very unlikely now, and you can only really see City unless they have an absolute calamitous fall. Well, I would say we got 4 games in hand, so we'd end up going on, above Chelsea if we won all of those. That ain't going to happen, I don't think. We've got Chelsea next. Those top 3, Mike, pretty much sorted. The top are pretty much done.
Yeah,
and
I think top 3 is what it is going to be.
It's Liverpool, then Chelsea.
Yeah, I think the top 3 is what top 3 will be come the end of the season. Chelsea's stuttering in form in the last month or so is what's going to cost them, really. When you look below it, you probably would say anyone from us down to 9th, which I think, is that where United are? Round about there at the moment?
Whoa, Mike.
Hey, I can't remember where the league is. I'm trying to remember where mine is.
How bloody dare you?
Be fair, mine's got no
You look at the league, so anywhere down to where
bleed, okay?
yeah, mate, I'm allowed to get a little bit excited. Anywhere from 4th down to about 8th, you would probably argue that could change in any kind of time. It just takes one club to. Obviously, there's some clubs that have to go on a run potentially of 6 games of winning because of the games in hand that they have, which then could make it probably in some ways all those games in hand is probably applies a bit more pressure to their games than they would have had they been.
And they're likely, like I alluded to earlier, going to be very thick and fast come the end of the season. And if they're in Europe as well, got that to contend with, it's.
I think it's a good sense for you and Arsenal that you're not in European competition.
Oh, God,
and
I forgot we're in Europe still.
Yeah, I mean, that could come thick and fast. Yeah,
I think as well. I think what I would say about that, again, no disrespect to West Ham, but I would say that of the clubs that are there, you would think that if I said to you a team's going to go and win 8 on the spin, you would probably say that United and Spurs are probably best equipped to do that out of those teams.
Exactly, and this is the thing that I said the other day on Twitter, is that if we have genuine aspirations of being the top 4 team this season, we had to win that game against Leeds. Not just because we're playing Leeds. It's because
momentum.
If you're a top 4 team, you need to go on a run where you win 5 or 6 games in a row.
Yeah.
But then you also go on a run where you go about 8 to 10 games without being defeated.
Yeah.
So it's not even that you have to win 6 games in a row, but as long as within a section of 10 games, you're probably winning about 6 of those, and you are arguably very hard to beat. It's very hard to actually kind of lose, or you actually don't lose those games.
Yeah, you don't want teams to look forward to playing you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the moment, teams don't necessarily look forward to playing West Ham.
Absolutely not. I'm dreading it.
What's important
They
for
do
you now?
our defense at the minute. Sorry?
What's important for you now? You lost that game. You win the next one. Ferguson was an absolute genius at that. I mean,
very quickly. Our next game is Man United at Old Trafford.
Yeah, but then what a way to respond, you know?
Yeah.
If you can win that.
If you go in
memory and because Ferguson, I'm pretty sure when you battered Nottingham Forest 8-1 at the City Ground, that was after a loss, and that loss was completely forgotten. So that's what top teams do. And under Pochettino, under the glory years, we lost a game, and then we didn't lose another one for ages, which is your point.
I think as well.
Man United going into the international break gives us a good bounce, and the very next game is Newcastle. So again, all of a sudden, you can, if we can win that game, it's going to be very tough.
We all want you to win that game, Mike.
If we win, but what I mean is, if we beat United and then we were to go on to the Newcastle game and do that again, it just sets the ball rolling. The game against Leeds is forgotten, and it's right. We're on to the next.
Yeah.
Run.
What I would say about United, though, I think again, this is awful. I'm not sure of this, but I think we've got a game before you, and you don't. I think we've got Brentford away before you.
Whilst you're chatting, let me check the fixtures.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure I saw that because I remember thinking, "Oh God, we they're going to be fresh."
You have actually. Yeah, you got Brentford on the 19th.
So you haven't got a game, have you? For some reason, because you've played more, obviously. So yeah, so yeah. I mean, it's another thing but that game's huge for us and like for Spurs, because obviously Spurs have got. I'm trying to look. I'm looking at Spurs fixtures now. You've got Chelsea. Is it Leicester next?
Yeah, and then Chelsea. That'd be a laugh.
Yeah, so Spurs have got a tough run. So like, I'm looking at it as a United. I'm sure like Mike's looking at it as a West Ham fan, but I'm looking at if we beat Brentford and West Ham, it's possible that Spurs is 2 games in hand. Although we have been playing, that the points wise they could have lost 2 there.
Yep.
So 12 points behind Chelsea, but we're not going to win 4 games in hand, very unlikely. But Ben, last thing before we wrap up, in terms of the title, Liverpool and Chelsea, I mean, City are done and dusted on top. But when I said Liverpool would win, I'll be honest with you, I completely forgot it was African Cup of Nations this season. And I mean, Salah and Mane could be out for another, 3 weeks, month.
Yeah.
Do you think they could slip below Chelsea because of the fact that they've only got their keeper in there, and they looked quite flat against Arsenal. Obviously Arsenal sat deep, worked hard as a team, but you'd expect Liverpool to score against them.
I would expect now that City pretty much will just sort of ebb away and do yeah. I think City will ebb away, and I think Chelsea Liverpool is still a fight. I think it is. I think Chelsea have had a poor couple of weeks in terms of results, but I don't like Chelsea could go and win the next 10. They are that type of team, and I think that again a bit like you with Kane not playing, Lukaku's not really playing. I mean,
my girlfriend's dad is a Chelsea fan, so he was all, "Whoa, we were poor." I was like, "Don't worry, Dr. Tottenham will come to town." And they're all
that's right. I mean, and I think I think those teams, those three teams are above everyone. So Liverpool and Chelsea could interchange. I don't think anyone's beating City, but and it is what it is. City, I think they could end up with another 90-point odd season, which is just disgusting, really.
Yeah, I think it's really going to be City at the top. And it's interchangeable between Chelsea and Liverpool because, again, the AFCON could play massively against Liverpool. But having said that, Chelsea's strike force are slightly stuttering.
Yeah.
And then when you look at it from there on, it's really that battle between for fourth and sixth could be an interesting battle because if we can maintain, it's going to be very tough for us because of the size of our squad and we don't have the quality of the others around us. So, where we are at the moment is probably an inflated position because of the games in hand.
Yeah.
We've got to be exceptional between now and the end of the season to remain where we are. I think the guys below us can probably, because of the talent they have in attacking positions, can still play mediocre and still win games because of the talent that they have. You only need to give some of these players half a chance and they'll score, whereas we need a bona fide chance to score in some of these games. So,
West Ham have got quite a tough end to the season as well, haven't they?
Yeah.
Like I'm just looking at it here. You got Chelsea away, Arsenal at home, Norwich away, but again they could be fighting City at home and Brighton away. That's some tough last fixtures.
And City and Brighton are our bogey team as well. We've not beaten Brighton since they've been in the Premier League.
City could be a blessing because done and dusted season, rotates, give the youth a chance.
I'm not sure playing City's ever a blessing.
Yeah, and for West Ham, we won't rest and play youth, mate. We got David Moyes.
No, not youth. City play youth because they've done and dusted.
Even still, I don't even think.
Yeah, it's going to be very tough. But yeah,
and let's face it, if City is still in the Champions League, even if he rests players, Pep doesn't allow his teams to rest. If you get my meaning.
That's why he's manager of the year when he wins the league, isn't it? But yeah, we've pretty much gone through everyone now, and yeah, it's always good doing these things. It's always good doing a Spurs show and everything, which obviously that's what this channel is for.
Can I just ask one question before we go? I just want, what are we all saying? Norwich, Watford, and Burnley going down?
I think it's
Norwich,
likely, yeah.
I think Burnley. If Burnley don't get their striker right,
Chris, come on, don't sit on the fence. Give us an answer.
Burnley, fingers crossed, Newcastle, and I don't know. I think Norwich after that win at Everton. I think Watford could go in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Burnley and
Norwich.
Surprising
with that third relegation team, isn't it?
I think Burnley and Norwich go, and I think Newcastle will just stay up because I think they'll do a couple of very big panic buys towards the end, and it will just be enough to scrape them through.
I'm hoping for a £65 million Lingard bid on them.
I think Brentford, like you say, Ben, could be sucked in, but I think at home they'll do well. They'll do well at home. I think form.
Great, we got them next.
If we could lose to Chelsea, so therefore we're even. Yeah, it's always good doing Spurs shows. Obviously, that's what this channel is here for. But it's also really good talking about not just Spurs and then having other fans on as well. And yeah, we'll definitely do this again. Maybe I don't know if there's an international break, like 5 games before the end of the season, or whatever. But certainly a kind of a view at the end of the season. And that would be good.
World Cup squad prediction in before the start of the season as well.
Yeah, all right.
I'm leaving Kane out.
Right, okay. We won't be doing that. I'm busy that day. But yeah, it's been great having you guys on as always. We've done this a couple of times now with the preview of the midway season, and then we'll do it the review of the season and then a preview next season. And Ben's World Cup thing where I'll put some voice on that he says Kane is in or something like that. I'll work that out. But yeah, and thanks to Mark as well. Thanks to Stephen. Thanks to Chris as well. So make sure you go into the descriptions after you've hit like, subscribe here. It all helps the channel. Really appreciating everyone who's in the comments. So when you hit like, subscribe, go into the description, go onto Stephen's and Chris's YouTube, do the same there, and then go and visit Mark's Twitter handle, which is in the description as well. Go and see his podcast as well. I'll be back on Friday, probably a review on the Leicester game, how that's gone, and a preview of the Chelsea game at the weekend. I'm assuming these games will happen. If not, I'll have to think of something to talk about, but I'm sure I can manage that. But yeah, cheers, guys. Last 2 standing. Pleasure. And I would say good luck for the rest of the season, but we're in the same kind of boat, so I don't really mean it.
I'm not used to being in this boat. What's it like, lads?
I don't know. It's been so long, I've forgotten.
We're taking on water, Mike. Right.
See you later. I've been doing that for years. I'm fine. I've got my own bucket.
Cheers for everyone who's been on, everyone who's been watching. I'll be back on Friday. Till then, come on, you Spurs.
Thank you so much for watching, for everybody who participated in the live chat and added comments. Before you go, please make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Anybody who couldn't watch the live video, you can still catch us on YouTube. Add any comments, suggestions or questions to the comments section on the video. Anybody who's listened to the audio-only podcast, thank you so much for listening. Anybody who wants the audio-only podcast, you get this wherever you get your podcast from. Alternatively, if you go to Twitter, @Talk Tottenham, you'll find all the information there. We'll be back soon. We're live Mondays, 8 p.m, Fridays, 12:30 UK time. Until then, come on, you Spurs!